Hail and well met, humble friends, for not a normal Humblewood Yonderbound. This is a special combination of Humblewood Yonderbound and Sword and Tea, the Sword and Key chat show, where we typically have a nice, calm cup of something warm and happy and often caffeinated, where we're doing a special Q&A as a season 2 and technically season 1 wrap, since we didn't really do one after season 1, where we will answer all of your burning questions, especially if those burning questions have to do with Marley, pun intended. And we will be joined by the very lovely LD as our special host today, who will be fielding those questions. So if you have submitted questions, fantastic. We had a wonderful list of them, some of which are kind of just our standard go-to questions to ask. Apologize that we are not going to get every single one of them. However, if you do post questions in chat, we will try to field those as well. So, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to say that, hi, I'm Derek Sword, use he, him pronouns. I have been your GM for this game, but this time I am just a mere question answerer to help you better understand the world that we have explored so little of in a weird sort of way. Which is the world of Everden. Not being an expert by any means, as the wonderful people at Hit Point Press are still expanding that world. I do want to say that this is a Sword and Key production. You can find all of Sword and Key's things at beacons.ai/Sword and Key. Find our socials, join our Discord, lots of really cool stuff. You can, on the beacons, find links to our affiliate ship with Hit Point Press, and you can use that link to purchase your own copies of Humblewood or the Griffin Saddlebag books, or a little stuffed Owlin plush, or Humblewood minis, or music licenses like the music you're listening to right now is the official Humblewood theme produced by Hit Point Press. We paid for the license, so we're using it. But you can use our custom link for any of that. We also have affiliate ships with Long Dog Dice if you're looking to get an amazing set of dice, Eldritch Foundry if you're looking to custom minis, lots of really great stuff. We also have been raising money and continue to raise money for Fauna and Flora International. So we have raised 770 pounds sterling, and we're going to continue to raise money through this stream. There's no incentives, unfortunately, just the goodness of your heart and maybe the tax deduction you can put if you haven't filed your taxes yet this year. But yes, if you do post questions in chat, we will try to answer those, and you can always donate as well. Those things aren't necessarily tied together. Just wanted to put them out there as that's what you're able to do through this. All that said, I want to have these lovely people go around, introduce themselves, and maybe say who they played for the past, well, season for some of you, one of you, no, two of you, and then 2 seasons maybe for the rest of you. So, Shadow, if you don't mind starting us out.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Shadow. I she, her pronouns, and I have played Clarence in both seasons. Even though my class has changed a little bit, Clarence has not. And at least this season, Clarence is using the he pronouns.
Fantastic. Next up, we have Queon.
Me?
It's different on the screen this time.
I was like, now wait a minute.
Yes.
I changed
So
everything.
the overlay is different. It will be Queon, then Anniek, then Liz, and then Christian, and then I'll have LD go last. So
I would just like to say this is bullying. Hi, I am Queon. I got my brother Queon across all of the internet. I will not be playing Soren today, but I have played Soren this entire time. And I'm very happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Next up, we have Anniek.
Hi, my name is Anniek. I go by she, they pronouns, and for the past 2 whole seasons, I got to play Mochi, who remains traumatized but largely unchanged, being a little trickery cleric / cult leader / high priestess / even if my mom doesn't love me, at least Hath does.
Wow. Okay, we can dig into that trauma here in a bit. Next up, we have Liz.
There was a lot to unpack there.
There was quite a lot.
Hi, friends. I'm Liz. I use she, they pronouns. In season 1, I played Marley / Harlow, our fantastic fighter who had a bit of an alter ego. So that's fun. Unfortunately, Marley is no longer with us. And this second season, I played Bettie, the Storm Herald Barbarian. I remembered this time. Go me. And Bettie uses she, her pronouns, and yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next up, we have Christian.
Everybody, hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hi, my name is Christian, aka Fluffy Goomba, all over the internets. I'm an award-winning TTRPG performer, educator, and event coordinator here in the space. And I'm not playing Argus Ironclaw, the Split-Strig Scofflaw fighter, king of the Crest Mountains. Today I'm playing his god, his creator, for both seasons. So, hi. Pronouns he, him, so are his.
Fantastic. And then our special guest host today, LD. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Hey, thanks for having me. It's a delight to be here. I am Lady Dame Warrior LD. I use she, her pronouns. I don't play here on Humblewood, but I love the Humblewood, and I'm so excited to get to spend a little bit of time with all of you. I am around here on Sword and Key doing a bunch of other things, and so, I pop up here and there. Honestly, I have enjoyed watching the Humblewood series for the last 2 seasons, and when I have time, when my schedule allows me to, and it's my dream to one day be able to pop in and join you all at some point, maybe someday. But no, I do love the Humblewood. I do. You all are
Yeah, I will
wonderful.
say, one of the first games I ever played with LD, she played an Aarakocra who was a secretary bird.
I did.
So that was
Yes.
completely uninspired. Christian, absolutely, if I remember right, did come up with Jasmine, but immediately my brain went to, well, LD's probably going to play that character. So at some point, who knows?
Yeah. Well, no, Clea, I will say the character that the Aarakocra that I played was very different than Killer Queen. Killer Queen is much cooler than Clea. Really, really inspired choice. And speaking of choices, we have a bunch of questions. I saw that we just got one in chat, but we're going to start off with my favorite question to ask all of you. It's always fascinating to me what your inspirations for your characters, we all take inspiration from when we're creating our own PCs and things like that. So I want to know from all of you guys, what are your biggest influences for your character, their backstory, if there's any pop culture references, if there's any type of character, or if this is something that you like to play. And I could pick somebody to start with, but if anybody has one really desperately wants to answer this question, that's what I like to start with. Anybody?
I mean, for my boy specifically, it was because I love owls in general, and owls are one of my favorite birds. So I was like, I'll pick an owl, not realizing that they were gonna be the biggest guy of the group. And then I picked Scofflaw Fighter specifically because it was in the book. It was I wanted to be different. I didn't just want to play a fighter that was just like another one on my list that I already created, and I was just repackaging. I was like, no, I'm gonna see what the book has to offer, and then that molded into, okay, they're this kind of fighter. What does that mean for them personality wise? Okay, if anything is a weapon, that means they will use anything as a weapon at any time. So they're kind of just very aggressive when it comes to fighting, and that aggression kind of melts into who they are as a person. And I was like, what's an aggressive brand of people? Bandits. Got it. Perfect. And it kind of just kept snowballing from there. And I know I do remember that I came up with Jasmine, but you made the secretary bird choice, because we were like, what kind of bird is she? I don't pick a bird. I don't know. But because I was like, they needed a reason to not be aggressive to the party, and I was like, oh, they were taught kindness by a bird that can kick their ass, and probably did kick their ass multiple times. So I was like, he's starting to try to be gentle with people, but as soon as anybody tries to beat any of their asses, that switch flips and they return to who they were as a bandit, now mercenary. And I think that evolved from season 1 to 2, where he's trying to be diplomatic, but everyone just keeps pushing his buttons and then stealing his wife. And so it's like, okay, if you don't want me to be nice, I can use your body against another body, and we can see what happens to you. And then, yeah, so that's the through line from my thought process during the creation process.
So before Humblewood was a thing, back in October 2021, I sent a picture to Derek with, if you ever run Humblewood, I'd like to submit my character. And it's a stone coaster with the saddest little wizard raccoon you've seen in your entire life. Which he went, well, noted, and you currently have first pick. Because we weren't actually running Humblewood yet. And then we got a little closer to the game, and I definitely wanted to stick with like just a weird little raccoon. But I just finished playing a wizard in my home game, and I didn't want to make another wizard. So I went with, what if I have a cleric who should have been a wizard, right? Because Mochi started as a failure to get into wizarding school, mother, head of wizarding, everything, sorely disappointed in her little baby. So what if my wizard failed as a wizard? What happened then? Which is when I figured out that if you have a sad little raccoon who is trying to mess with magic and it isn't working out, there's this cool little god in Humblewood who likes to collect weird little raccoons, and that's Hath. Which is when she became a cleric. I didn't want to be the super healy kind of cleric, which is when she became a trickery cleric, because I also think that's perfect to go with a little raccoon with their grabby little hands, and they're sneaking around in the dark and hissing at weird things. And yeah, it kind of all snowballed from there, but it started with a stone coaster with a sad little wizard raccoon 4 years ago.
That is such a great inspiration. I love that.
I'll post a picture of the raccoon in our Discord.
Oh, please.
I love her so much. It's so sad.
I'll go next if that's okay.
Yeah. Please.
For the little just a little Soren guy. I can't even do his voice anymore because I'm not in that headspace right now. But to create this little bundle of joy and trauma now. It started off because I saw the Circle of Sand Druid played by my friend Omega, aka Critical Bard. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is very interesting. Okay, cool. And I'm like, all right, I will play this one day. And then Derek is like, hey, you want to be in Humblewood? I'm like, sure. I'm just scrolling through all of the stuff. And I was like, I don't really like any of the races. They don't fit. And then I think it was that week or the week after they released the playtest with the Tilias in it. And I love reptiles already. So it's like, I am a reptile guy. If there's anything I can do, like give me a snake. I love that. So I was like, hey, Derek, can I do this? And they come in sand already. They have a sand side already. So can I just have that? Please. And Derek was like, go for it. So yeah, and that's just how I got to Soren's like race in class. But then like when it comes to like making a character's like personality, I always kind of start like listening to music first. And like, because if I go into like going with a person as like their structure, I'm gonna come out with the same character every time. Because it's like I like the same type of characters. I like the asshole. I like the one who's causing problems. But if I start with music, I kind of get like a little bit of a different vibe. And for Soren, there's a song, Gangster by PJ. And it's like, I really want to be the person. I want to be the person who's like super strong and I can do everything on my own, but I am just a little guy. Like, I am quite literally just a little guy. It's just like, I can't do all of that, but if I could, I would be a problem. And my thought process was like, okay, but what if he could? What if he actually could? So that's why Soren may be a small little lizard dude, but he's got so much personality, and I love where he's grown and come to. So yeah, that's how we got across to this little lovely little lizard dude. And
I love him so much.
well, the unlucky lucky shit was just like, I like giving characters a tagline, and he got frozen in the freaking snow. Of course he's unlucky. Like, but he's lucky enough that he didn't die. So
It's like the worst place for a lizard.
terrible.
Just an ice. Yes. So for Clarence, it was a combination of a couple things of like I was scrolling through the options that Derek was giving us, as far as like the playable races and whatnot, and I really just kind of fell in love with the picture of the Lupu. It's like this adorable tiny bunny in like this really gigantic like wizard robes with his ears just popping through the top, and just like this, like, you know, that blank bunny stare where you're not sure if like there's higher functioning going on or if they're plotting murder, like it's an or statement. And I was like, yeah. And then as I was like kind of making Clarence, I know that one of the references I sent Michael for the character art was Mickey in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, where like you just kind of accidentally start doing magic and you're like, yeah, I'm actually kind of good at this, and then you get carried away and then it kind of snowballs and you can't really get yourself out of it. So I kind of felt that for Clarence, and then a bit of inspiration also came from I'm really sorry if you can hear those wild parrots, they're not mine. They're outside the window.
That tropical life.
Part of it also came from like Peter Rabbit. Of like Peter Rabbit was just a little guy, but was always getting in constant trouble and always getting all of his friends in trouble. So that kind of wrapped up into Clarence. And then I was like, well, what if Clarence is like that one person that doesn't understand social cues really well, and they kind of like tag along with your group, but they're not really a part of the friend group. They just kind of keep following you around everywhere, and you're kind of like, well, I mean, like, they're not bad. We're just like, we just don't know them, you know? And it's just kind of like, hi, I'm Clarence. And I was like, yeah, I really kind of felt like that wrapped it all up.
And I love everybody's stories. They're so good. I feel like the stories for my characters are so different because...
And you've got two of them.
And I've got two of them. And honestly, both times I went into this with, I want to play something that I don't normally play. Because I think anybody who knows me for any length of time knows that I love playing warlocks. Warlocks are my favorite. And so this time both times I was like, I want to play something that I don't normally play, that I haven't played before. With Marley, I wanted to play a fighter, but I wanted her to be different. I don't know, there was something there that I was like, she's got to have something that sets her apart from just being a hard ass. And so when I talked to Derek about it, we went through this whole, well, what if something happened to push her away from being a fighter? So we came up with this elaborate backstory of there was something that happened, and so she left her previous life and ended up with Clarence and Mochi and Argus in this small town, just a small unassuming life. She's become a baker. She just kind of stays on the edge of town. Nobody really got to know her, and she just kind of assimilated to this small town life of taking care of other people. And with Bettie, again, it was the same concept of, I really want to play something that I've never played before. I have never played a barbarian. And I think I might speak for a fair few of us when, like, for me, my, like, cornerstone of the idea of barbarian is Grog from Critical Role. And I'm like, I don't want to play that kind of a barbarian, but I definitely think I want to play a barbarian who's, like, just a guy. Like, I'm just a normal, average, not, like, exceptionally smart, because that would be kind of weird for a barbarian, I guess. But, like, maybe she's got some underlying anger issues. I don't know. But, and I'm not sure if this was the original question at this point. We've kind of digressed a lot. But, like, the original inspiration was actually my grandmother, whose name is Bettie.
What?
Yeah, so my grandma, I don't know how often I talk about my family. My family, I'm from Maine. I'm from the backwoods of Maine. My grandmother and my grandfather were both, like, hunter, fisher, trapper people. That is how they made their living. So my inspiration was literally, like, my mom and my grandma, who both, like, worked on fishing boats for the majority of their life. So was like, my mom and my grandma were both pretty badass. They took care of people. They, you know, helped where they could. They lent a hand to people who didn't have as much as we did, which still wasn't a whole hell of a lot, but, like, you know, you help people where you can. And that was honestly, like, the initial idea for Bettie, was like, I just kind of want to play a guy who's big and strong, but also likes to help people. So that's where she came from. And I think the, like, camaraderie with Mochi was a really good segue from Marley into Bettie. So, yeah.
I love that. I love all the different influences. Some of it, like, that we have both influences from the mechanical aspect and getting to play in the Humblewood and what that setting does. We also have, like, bringing in music and family and all of that. It's just, that's so wonderful. My next question is for Derek, actually. You know, this is our second season of Humblewood, and you also run Horizon's Call, the long-term D&D campaign on Saturdays. And what's interesting, both campaigns started as they were supposed to be one season and have since obviously expanded. But Humblewood, in contrast to Horizon's Call, has more distinct arcs in each season, where we have, like, a very clear, like, beginning, middle, and end of the arc, where the story sort of wraps itself up. Do you feel as that with, like, whereas Horizon's Call has sort of, like, gone on and continue to expand, like, it's a little, like, more of a longer arc, do you feel as though that, like, should we get more seasons of Humblewood, that you're going to continue that in future seasons? What are things that you like about running a game in that regard, in that format? And if you had anticipated that Humblewood was going to go for more seasons, what would you have done differently?
Yeah, I've always said to my players that one of my greatest curses is that it takes no arm twisting at all to say that you want to play more. That tells me that you're having fun, and as a GM, that's literally all I care about. So if you're having fun, great. I want to provide more fun to you. That's my love language, is running games. Horizon's Call absolutely did start out as a confined season of, you know, this was even I wanted to run a game for my partner, and she really wanted to do an Oceanic game, and we grabbed some of our friends, and we did one season where they uncovered some hard truths, fought the big bad, you know, leveled up to level 20 at the very end of it. You know, it was one of those, like, hey, we checked all the boxes, and then, you know, we had so much fun that, hey, maybe there's stuff that comes after this. What are the implications of what comes after that? And that's very much where Humblewood kind of ended, the first season at least, which is why it has a different subtitle. You know, the Unending Winter was meant to be that confined thing. I really wanted to run a winter game because the concept of an endless winter implies so many, I think, really interesting storylines for a TTRPG. It implies, food shortages. It implies harsh environment. And like my favorite level in any video game will always be a snow level. There's something about just that all white bleak landscape kind of thing, and putting that with a bunch of anthropomorphic animals felt less traumatizing. Maybe it didn't end up being less traumatizing, but it felt that way, at least at first. Because you have so many like endless winter or like snow apocalypse stories, and it always circles around people, and it's always like, wow, this is fucking sad, and it still ended up being really sad. But when the idea came for when Humblewood Hit Point Press started expanding, and they had the greater world, I definitely felt like I had told the stories of the Humblewood itself. They had been to the Alderheart, they had been to the Avium, they'd been to the Bandit Fortress in the mountains. There's definitely other things. There's the Scorched lands. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but like where the like ember bats, and there's the caves where they like harvest oozes. There's all that kind of stuff. But for the level that they had ended up at, it didn't feel like I could reasonably tell a story that wouldn't just be like just little nitpicky stuff, right? There didn't feel like there was a big bad. They literally like met. One of them had made a paladin oath with the elemental being of fire, the avatar of fire. And that's where the original Humblewood book, that's one of the highest CRs that you can find in that whole book, is that fire spirit. So I had to kind of expand outwards. Yeah. Because that's the whole, if you buy the Humblewood book using our custom link with Hit Point Press, you can see that there is shameless plugs. There's a module in there, there's a whole story in there, and the whole thing is about figuring out all the stuff going all around the Humblewood and end up using the Borealis to fight the elemental fire spirit. And the Borealis is like, hey, this is the one thing, it's the opposite of the fire, and that's the one thing that can defeat it. And yeah, I wanted to tell my own thing. I'm not a big module person when it comes down to it. So yeah, when it came to season 2, it was the thought of, okay, there's this thing. What if it's part of a much larger thing? And what if there are equal representations of all these other things? And now you've saved just your home, thinking it was the whole world. But actually there is a whole other world that's being affected now. And, then there's travel, then there's going to different places. Hit Point Press had put out a handful of PDFs for different smaller kind of games. One of them did touch on the Tangle Wilds. But yeah, I think that, to get back to the root of the question, Humblewood is going to play in much more of a chapter style fashion. Should we play more seasons, it will be much more chapter based. Mostly, and this is not an accusation, it's just a statement of fact, because Anniek deserves to run their own games as well, and this is Anniek's time slot. This game was my personal love letter to Anniek, both as a thank you for being a friend and also for being a mod and for running so many games. And I always try to run games for the people who are forever GMs, because I know what that feels like. And so Anniek had interest in Humblewood. I picked up Humblewood and had interest too. It's the least I could do. But yeah, Anniek, this is when Anniek can run games. So I'm not going to sit here and, hog all of the time. So if we do come back, it will be based in chapters, and that's kind of how we ended season 2 as well. Is now we have 5 elemental spirits that are out, on these different continents now. That are wreaking havoc here or there. And so it's just, it's going one by one and kind of dealing with those elemental spirits, each representing their own chapters, should we decide to do that. But yeah, it's meant to be a flow, right? There's meant to be action, consequence. It's never a, and, there's a quote, and I'm not a big South Park person, but I do like this quote. It's from the creators of South Park, that in storytelling, it should never be and this happens, and this happens. It should be, this happens because this happens, or in spite of this happening. Everything should be a flowing from action and consequence, whether that consequence is good or bad. It's a ripple effect outwards, and that's how the stories impact. So, very long-winded answer to, yes, I think is the ultimate answer.
Amazing. All right. I want to get into, we have some really, really excellent questions that are specific to each player. So I want to start getting into those. And to kind of wrap around, like talk about some of the stuff that happened, between this season and but specifically, or this most recent season of it. So we're going to start with Christian. This is from one of our submissions. But the question reads: Heavy is the head that wears the crown. So Argus has his throne, he has his queen back, and his plan seems to be keeping things safe and secure at home. But what fears does he have about what comes next? And to that point, I know this has been something that has come up before, but Argus is the king, is a ruler now, and he's got his own responsibilities. What do you think? This is sort of like adding onto this. What do you think will keep Argus do you think that Argus is going to continue adventuring? What is the thing that's going to motivate him to stay with the party, or is this it? Or is there some other thing in your future that you're thinking about with Argus? I guess.
Honestly, it's like if he is called, he'll come. If he is called upon to aid, he will bear the hammer once more. But you are right, he is king. He does have a whole mountain of people to look after. He was in the middle of rebranding his entire nation, making it a nation, not just a group of bandits that lived up in the mountains because it was cold. So he's like basically redefining his people and himself like all the time. And they were in the middle of that before the pirate king kidnapped Jasmine, and he was in the middle of networking and making those connections to other nations with Killer Queen, with Jasmine. And so if one of the nations that Jasmine managed to talk to, or does talk to, was like, hey, some shit's going down, we heard you dealt with this in the past, could you like give us your advice or aid or something, like he could come back into the story to deal with those consequences, because he's a very like, I've dealt with this before, I know what's up, just point me at the thing and I'll smash it kind of guy. And it's really just like up to fate, or up to like not interest, but like up to like how, I guess interest, I get how I'm feeling about like, do I want, like, what stories could I tell besides the save the world plot line? What is the like Argus plot line I could tell with those 5 islands, right, with those 5 continents or whatever? And I don't know, that's the thing, I don't know what stories I could tell with those 5 places, that because he has his home, he has his wife. What's next? What's the next thing he has to save the world to protect beyond those 2? Those 2 are big for him, but like, what are the the one I have to follow through on during the adventure, the motivation during the adventure, that's not just be a hero, save the world. So
right.
We'll see.
Yeah, that was definitely something Christian and I talked a lot about, is, hey, here's a guy who has everything he's ever wanted. He's dealt with the terrible father figure. He's taken a throne. He's, revitalizing a community. He's restoring honor to a people who had lost it. He has he has his partner. He has everything he'd ever want. Why would he leave? And the answer was, well, because Jasmine's in danger. And that was the quick and dirty way to kind of translate that out. But yeah, that's something I ask myself every time, is why, what can I do to keep Argus here? After he's again has everything that he wants. And so my thought is always like, man, is Christian gonna play like another bandit character? Like, is it gonna be like, are we gonna fast forward and it's gonna be like Argus's kid or something? Like, that's always something that comes to mind, is because more than I think almost anybody else, maybe Soren at this point is close to that, since Soren just kind of attained that leadership role, is like, man, how am I going to get him off his throne and away from his people, and a place where he enacts the most amount of good, and what's going to be that hook for you.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Oh yeah. Since you brought up Soren, the question from this anonymous person for Queon is, Soren had a big arc this season. We just get a little guy Soren, and he had a drastic self-confidence journey this season. What is your proudest moment for him? Was there anything that changed radically in his character from how you intended him at the start of the season?
Oof. Well, first of all, Soren's arc wasn't supposed to be his arc. So basically him becoming the leader at the end, that was supposed to be Sobe. That was the original intention for Sobe to be filling that spot. And then, well, you gave the boy rocks. So you gave him rocks. And then his friends, like, not even that his friends, but he has a very big thing about things being captured and like held and like against their will, which is the reason why even like at the bandit camp, he was like, all right, cool. Get the Triceratops away from this guy. He's literally being an asshole to it. So it's like, he does not deserve, like he does not deserve to be stuck like this. So yeah, like his big thing is just like, he wasn't supposed to be as grandiose, but I think my favorite thing that I did, it's still like in his intro where he had the alder heart drop that damn seed on somebody. I think that was still one of my favorites. It's like, yeah, like the tree told me the place you live said I could be here. Go away. I don't care what you're talking about now. Leave me alone. But yeah, I love him so much, and it's funny because it came down to either playing Soren or another character who also happened to be an otter folk. So that would have been very interesting. So yeah, if I would have ended up playing Hudson would have been a monk who was also a fisherman, but he was going to be a way of the river, which was like a reskin of like the way of the serpent. So he was going to have like the same hook, but he was going to go about it like, yeah, it was like,
I love it.
When we were talking about it, I was like, oh, that would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
That would have been really fun. But I just love the idea of just like playing this little dudes, and he was great. Hudson does live on. He is now the champion of Groundhog's Day. You can find him over on Help Action Needed.
Heck yeah!
He's phenomenal over there. I love him so much. But yeah, Soren was just supposed to be like, my big thing like coming into the group was like, he's going to be the outsider. So it's like he's the youngest of the group. He's like not like here for everybody. So it's like how do we like ingrain this and like make him good? And I was like, just make him adorable and make him endearing. They're not gonna leave him. Like, just make him cute.
True.
Just make him cute and make him hit like a bus. So,
that's a very solid strategy, I think.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I don't know. He's become one of my like favorite characters for sure. I love him.
Super great. That actually, I'm gonna jump because that reminds me of a question. Like you're talking about an alternate character, Hudson, who also sounds incredible and amazing. Did anybody else? And I know that like Liz has now played 2 characters. Did anybody else have like an alternate character or like alternate idea of a character that they might have wanted to play?
So I'm gonna push this one to Shadow because honestly, I'm really curious what your backup would have been if something had happened to Clarence this season.
Oh yeah,
like super interested.
Honestly, I didn't really have a backup. I was just gonna wing it.
Were you just
I
gonna
was
play
be
Cal?
All right, here it is. All right. But if so, there was a previous Humblewood that I did like offline many years ago, that actually runs through the storyline that's in the Humblewood book that you should use our link and get off Hit Point Press. And
Well done. Beautifully
that
done.
talks about like the Scorch Grove and everything like that. And I played a Gallus, who's the chicken folk in Humblewood, who was like a farmer, was like kind of like the son that was like gonna take over the business, right? It was like this big like export farm, right? And the best thing is that Gallus aren't really good at flying, and there's like a subclass of Gallus, and I forget what it's called, but where it's like they can't really fly. It's maybe it's called grounded. That might be what it is. That you can do. So I turned that into that he was afraid of flying. So anytime that he did glide or fly at all, he was just screaming in terror the entire time. So it probably would have been something along that line. I don't know if I would have brought back that same character and just kind of like plop them down into this version of Humblewood that Derek has created for us. But it probably would have been something like that. It probably would have been a bird. And it probably would have been either like a big, like beefy bird like Argus, but like slightly different. Or it would have been probably like a super tiny, like Gerbine that is like your stereotypical, like really nervous, shy, like mouse or like vole type creature that's just kind of like, I don't like fighting. So yeah, it was probably like gonna be in those two spheres of influence.
So to tie on to things happening with Clarence, once we started heading towards maybe PvP, maybe Clarence actually betraying Mochi, I actually sent a backup character to Derek in case I decided to retire Mochi mid-session for RPG reasons. Like, not character death, but pure roleplay reasons. If she couldn't deal with what Clarence was doing, if the rift became too great. It was not actually Matcha. Talk about the inspiration. It was a weird character. I'll give you the background of it, and then maybe you can guess what the inspiration was. It's an Oath of the Ancients paladin who was, from the playtest, a Capran, specifically a Tethra Capran, which is the cutest sheep race in the history of adorable sheep races, which is why she had a charisma of 20, because her little black face and her little white curls were just so fucking cute. You couldn't handle it. I was like, okay, well, if it goes horribly wrong, they're gonna lose their cleric. I want something with a little bit, still a little bit of healing to at least help. But I also, if the rift is because Clarence turns evil, I want to play something incredibly righteous. I want that stick up my ass so far it doesn't see the sunshine, and I want to protect my friends and my world. So she had like stubborn mind, immunity to disease, all of it. It's not Shaun the Sheep. She was actually based on Wooloo from Pokemon, because Wooloo is the best Pokemon. I made Wooloo as a paladin. But yeah, Clarence and Mochi worked it out. We were still BFFs, so I didn't need to bring in my little Wooloo character. But I sent it to Derek going, I don't think Mochi will die, but I think Mochi might leave.
I never looked at it. I trusted Mochi.
I don't know, man. She's not doing well mentally. Everything that happened is a lot for a 9-year-old.
I was gonna say, is anyone here doing well mentally, character or person? I'd be surprised if I saw any hands. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Fair enough.
Now, I would imagine that Argus, we would never have to worry about Argus in a character death situation, but, you know, was there ever a point when you're like, maybe Argus is done and I need to bring in another character, or did you
mean,
have when you were creating these?
That was the start. That was like the start of season 2,
Right.
where me and Derek were just talking like, how do we bring him back? Like, do we bring him back? How do we do that?
Mhm.
And it's like I couldn't. I was so like brain blasted at the time. I couldn't think of like another character or proper motivation for why that character was suddenly joining the team. So I was like, kidnap my wife.
Yeah.
Uh,
Argus is so cool.
Thank
Like
you.
literally so cool.
Thank you, Baylor. I appreciate that. I was like, I want to continue playing Argus because Argus is a very interesting character, and you gotta have a martial class in a group with some troublesome spellcasters, especially Shadow and Anniek. So I was like, I gotta protect them and their squishies, and from themselves.
I had 111 hit points by the end, okay?
Yes.
But yes, protect me from myself by all means.
Yes. Because like, in Argus has become this like guardian figure for the party, and I was like, I don't want them to lose that after losing Marley, because that's just stabbing extra hard. But like, lose all your mature parental figure kind of sort of. So like, I was like, okay, I'll stick with Argus, and I won't plan on making another character, because it's my plan to make another character. I find myself being like, but what if Argus died or something, and like I don't like that feeling. So I'm like, I'm gonna make sure Argus lives, and I'm gonna make it be because he's stubborn and doesn't want to leave people behind to go some spirit world or whatever. Be like, Half, let me go back down. I'm not done yet. Put me back
Half
in,
would let
coach.
you. Half would 100%. Like chaos, yes. Go forth.
Yes. I have people to
so good.
explode or throw at other people. Please, I'm not done yet. So yeah.
Liz, is there a third character sitting
absolutely
back there
not.
somewhere?
Nope.
Yeah, figuring it.
I have zero plans past Betty at this point. I mean, maybe I probably should, because she is kind of like go through me, as opposed to like let me step out of the way and let you pass. Especially for her people. But yeah, I do not currently have a backup character for Betty, and I am notoriously bad about getting into a character. I have a really, really hard time connecting to my player characters for whatever reason. But I think I'm finally at the point where it's like I don't really want to lose Betty, like not for something that's unimportant. You know what I mean? Like if it's an important reason, then I guess it's fine. I'll still be upset, but whatever. But I'm not looking forward to the process of creating a new character and like getting into them. So yeah, I have a really hard time with that. So
We love your characters though. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I want to touch on, because we've sort of talked about it a little bit already, is that there was this really big conflict between Mochi and Clarence this past season. This question was for Shadow, but I think it's important to speak to for the entire table. So first of all, this is also from our anonymous entry. Clarence had an interesting arc so far, from the bright-eyed bunny bard to the lich-loving lagomorph, which brilliant work from the person who wrote this question. How do you feel their journey would have been different if Cal hadn't crossed their path? And then the tension with Mochi specifically has been a season-defining moment. Do you think something else would have taken Cal's place between the two of them? I'm just reading this one out loud. So I want to like know if that, like, how that arc would have changed. How do you think that Cal would have been, or Clarence would have been different had they not crossed Cal's path? And then I would love to hear everybody talk about the conflict with Mochi and the conflict with the party as a whole too. I think it's really, before I let you answer, I think it's really interesting, and it can be really a tricky thing to have that kind of party conflict and to have these very serious, like, differing worldviews and like really strong conflicts, and then how you all handle that as a table, and how, like, what was that conversation like, both like above table and below table, to make sure that everybody kind of came out feeling that like that like you as players felt okay about everything that happened. It's a big question. I know it's just a big event, so.
Yeah. If Clarence didn't go back and get Cal, I feel like Clarence would have gotten something else. Like either like another person, maybe would have dove deeper into Hath, maybe would have found another dark entity. Maybe it would have been a wake worm. Who knows? But I feel like Clarence would have. Yes, Derek, we would have went there. But I feel like
no.
Clarence would have like went. Because part of Clarence, kind of like going back to like the Sorcerer's Apprentice aspect of Clarence, is here is this individual who is very gifted innately with magic, was invited to go to like the prestige magic school, attended for a little bit, and was like, nah, this isn't like really for me. Like you guys do you, but like I don't agree with the way that you're like teaching people to use magic and like what it's about. I'm just gonna like go do my own thing. Okay, thanks, bye. Right? And I think as much as like outwardly Clarence presents as like this bright-eyed bunny, like full of hope and love and friendship, Clarence has like such a strong like power hungriness, and Clarence would have found something. It would have been another like magical object. It would have been another magical being. It would have been something that I feel like we would have found on our journey ultimately, that Clarence would have just latched onto and was like, yes, this will kind of give me this power. And then I feel like Clarence then furthered it with kind of how Mochi or Anniek was outwardly expressing through Mochi, like the trauma that has happened to Mochi, with everything that happened with Marley and everything like that. And I feel like this was Clarence's way of dealing with that trauma, of being like, well, I wasn't strong enough to save Marley. I wasn't powerful enough to save Marley or bring Marley back or like anything like that. And so now he's kind of obsessed with this need to be like, no, like I wasn't good enough. That's why this thing happened. And so now he's like, okay, now I have to be good enough. Like I have to get stronger. I have to acquire more power. And so that's kind of how like it's turning for him, of like still this bright-eyed bunny, but there's always been this underlying like need for power. So yeah, so I think that like that's what would have happened if we didn't have Cal. And I also think like there would have been another thing that I think he would have latched onto, and then would have also created that riff with Mochi. Even if it was Hath, like I feel like even if Clarence leaned into Hath, like it would become kind of like who's the favorite child rivalry. That's how I would picture that storyline. I don't know if Anniek has more to say on that, but
I think for what did happen with Cal, the way Clarence went, I need more power to keep my friends safe, Mochi went into the feeling abandoned by Marley almost, because she did have a chat with her, and out of everyone, the person who understood the whole speak with some unknowable creature, deity, whatever, and gain powers for a piece of your soul, that's valid. That's what I do. Mochi never judged Marley for that deal she made, but she was very upset when that ended in Marley dying, and she just felt like, well, that was the first one to leave. Now everyone else is going to leave. And they did, because we split up at the end of season 1, which is why she went bodyboarding and recruited like crazy, because she needed more people to stay with her. And then Clarence went and got the skull without her. She didn't give two shits about the fact that she went and got an evil skull. You do you. Skipping Mochi, not like finding someone to send a message. Go, hey, I'm gonna go get in trouble. You want to join? She wasn't angry. It just broke her heart, and it proved to her people are gonna leave you. Clarence is already no longer like your BFF is doing this without you. It's the first step to your BFF also leaving you forever. Which, and like I said, Mochi, like the deal Clarence had with Cal, like I don't think Mochi sees a real difference between the deal she has with Hath. Go for it. But then when she got the feeling that Clarence was losing parts of themselves to Cal, whereas Hath is also very you be you, go forth and screw up the world. And Mochi kept getting this sense that Cal was doing things to change Clarence, but she loved Clarence. Clarence is perfect. Clarence, Clarence should be Clarence. Stop messing with Clarence. And that's when Mochi got real upset with that skull and really started stepping in. And as players, there are a lot of chats just going, Shadow and I are cool. We would love Mochi and Clarence to come out of this as BFFs. But we'll see where it goes. We kind of just decided to let it play out. And if Clarence had joined Hath, Shadow would have had to work really, really hard to make conflict out of that. That would have been Mochi's dream come true. You would have gotten real creative to make. If you had become Hath's favorite child, I honestly don't think Mochi would have been that upset by it. She has 29 brothers and sisters. Who gives a fuck who's the favorite? It'd be cool. My BFF would be the best friend of Hath. Let's perfect. Right? You would have had to work real hard to make that messy.
And one thing that for Mochi, and I don't know if the audience ever heard them, but our little voice intros that we made for this season, when I listened to Mochi says nothing about Clarence. I want that to be clear.
No, you left
Mochi
me.
says nothing about Clarence. Doesn't talk about sending Clarence. Doesn't talk about sending Clarence letter. It doesn't say anything about Clarence. And so me as a player, I was like, what if I lean into this? Of Mochi didn't miss Clarence, so Clarence is just gonna be like whatever. And so I think we kind of started the season with that little nugget there. Yeah, and I thought that was really great. And when Mochi and Clarence kind of had their first blowout argument, I really was like, oh no. And then for a second I was like, nah, I trust Anniek.
Yeah, we're good.
I was like, we're good.
Yeah, same. And then at one point Mochi really had to start looping in party members because again, she had the feeling that Cal was messing with Clarence, not just, I give you this and you get power, but actively lying to Clarence and changing Clarence into something worse. Which is when she looped in Christian and then went, oh, Bettie and Queon should know this as well. And then I don't think I sent you a text. I think we talked about it either on break or before one of the sessions. We're like, okay, we really don't want Shadow to feel like we're ganging up on her, but everyone is worried at this point. All of our characters think this is uncool. And I'm sorry, I just woke everybody up to go do this. But yeah, we okay, we don't want this to be a 4 against 1 thing, but we all have genuine concerns.
Almost an intervention.
Yeah. I think Clarence's main thread in everyone's concern was, I don't understand why you can't see why I'm doing this. I feel like Clarence thought everybody saw it as a super selfish thing, and Clarence is like, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for y'all and the world. And Clarence was like, I just don't understand why you don't get it. And
see, I think the thing to that, sorry, I gotta
go
hop in here.
Go.
Soren understood that you were doing this for us, but he also wanted you to realize you didn't have to. This is not a burden you had to carry.
And from Argus's perspective, it's like, yeah, gain power, sure. Check your sources.
You could have done this with anybody else.
I'm for you gaining strength. Cool. That's, hey, warrior mindset, gain strength. Know where you're gaining strength from. Know like the full like tax history. Get the credentials. And he knew that this thing was locked up for a reason. And he was like, okay, last time we kept secrets from each other in the party. Shit didn't work out. It was a main fight we had in season 1 with Marley. It's like, you gotta say something. You gotta say something more than not at all.
I do think one point Mochi actually genuinely got mad at Clarence was when Clarence asked Christian, or Argus specifically, if this goes wrong, promise you'll stop me. And I just went, you're asking us to kill our party member after everything that happened, you selfish little bunny asshole?
Yeah.
And I know you meant it as like a fail-safe and to prove you could be trusted, but at that point, Mochi just went, are you fucking kidding me? Don't put this on us.
Yeah.
That was a tipping point for Mochi. That really made her mad. Clean up your own shit.
Also, completely on a different aside, does Soren still have Cal's eye? Because I don't think he ever gave it back.
I mean, does
Yeah,
he?
presumably he's got a neat little rock.
Yeah, he's holding on to that.
It's fine.
So if you also want to extend into a warlock pact, we're there.
I'm sure Cal would appreciate it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
Cal was born out of. So there were two things when I was going into Humblewood. I had this mindset where warlocks should be always hiring. You know, warlocks should be ABC, always be closing. And so like they're constantly looking for sources to extend their power, to extend their influence out. That's where like the flame spirit came from to Marley. Like that was completely based on chance. Marley was like the one I was like, oh shit, I really hope Clarence had gotten this one, because Clarence I know would be like 100% into a fire spirit. And it ended up being so more interesting to have Marley be the one that bought into it and then didn't even become a warlock, became a paladin out of it. But then, you know, I wanted, when they got to the Avium, when they got that vault, I wanted to be very much that, like, you know, in Thor, the Asgardian treasure hall, where they have all of these, like, massively powerful things. So these are all of, like, in the original Humblewood book, all of the legendary items are what are listed there. Cal was not something that was listed in the Humblewood book, but was influenced by it. In the official Humblewood book, there is a, like, dark necromantic tome. It's supposed to be the equivalent of, like, you know, the book of Vecna, or whatever it's called in the official Forgotten Realms. It's called the Necronomicon Ex Corvus, which is such a lame name. I get it. I get the joke. It's the legendary tome of dark necromancy penned by the mad Corvum necromancer Lathyrus of the Night's Call. Just like the most obviously evil thing. And so I thought what would be more interesting is not just that book, but to have the skull of the equivalent of this character. Again, you know, this is because I take tangents on official Humblewood like lore. I'm going to introduce my own stuff so that it can be like a slight little variation. So I had Caliban's Skull Speaker, very on the nose. Another thing I love about Humblewood is I can use the very on the nose fantasy names. It doesn't feel weird in Humblewood. It feels weird in other games to call somebody like like Jethrin Windcaller, and I'm like, that's ugh. I don't know. It gives me weird vibes in typical fantasy, because like, okay, we get it. But in Humblewood, it like plays into that. So Caliban's Skull Speaker was there just to be like, you know, hey, I saw everything, but also, you want to make a deal? And I really, really do love that he was meant to be this, you know, classic '80s villain, you know, like fucking Starscream or from He-Man. Who am I thinking of? Skeletor from
Skeletor.
Skeletor. You know, just your typical like '80s gay coded villain that kind of talks like this, and they have a slight lisp to everything. And I love so much that, you know, I talked to a lot of different people through Sword and Teas and everything else. And Megan Lynn, I talked to recently about like a game that she had made about like warlock packs and how those interact. And so, what if you can change your patron? What if you can influence them to be better? Here's this guy who failed in his ultimate mission, still has, you know, a bone to pick, pun intended, with like, you know, conquering the world. And what if you just have the most pure-hearted little bunny friend that's just like, hey, let's talk about morals. I know you didn't get your trauma out in a healthy way. Here's a second chance because you're not going to get another one. And I really liked that. I'm really happy with the way that played out. But yes, that was a tough scene where I figured at some point Cal was going to have to make his move, and that was it at that time.
Incredible. I think this is a good place to for us and our folks to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've definitely got some more questions and some more thoughts to explore. So
Great.
I'm gonna let Derek do this outro because that's what he does.
We'll be back in 10 to 15. Please enjoy our ad reel. Please, there's still time to donate to Fauna and Flora International. No incentives, just it's a great organization. They've done a lot of really great partnering work with us, so it's always appreciated if you have a couple extra bucks to put that way. And please enjoy our ad reel. If you are looking to get your own copy of Humblewood, please use our affiliate link to do so. We'll see you. We'll be back. Hang around. Hail and well met again, humble folks. Welcome back to this special combination of Humblewood Yonderbound and Sword and Tea chats. This is a Q&A for the wrap-up of Season 2. We will answer all of your most intense and hopefully softball questions about character, story, world, all that kind of stuff for the first 2 Humblewood seasons here on Sword and Key. Our very lovely host, LD, is joining us, and I will hand things over to her for the next question.
I believe Queon had a question for Derek, if we want to jump into that.
Yes, and I also know there was conversation about how lycanthropy works in Humblewood. I do have that figured out.
Whoa, that's terrifying.
That might that might have to be a Discord answer, to be honest. But
it's really quick. I'll just throw that one out there real quick. It's just you become a feral version of that animal, of whatever animal you want. Like, it's not like you because they actually have something in Humblewood. It's the Thorn of Kren, I think, and it turns you into a feral, like primordial version of whatever kind of animal folk you are. So yeah, your claws get bigger, your teeth get worse.
We have an answer for this now, though. That's good. Yeah, because we have been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. It's a curse sort of thing, and it's passed along. It's not like you get bitten by a werewolf and an owl turns into a wolf. You just become feral, and it's based on a curse basis. But anyway.
That helps for my Season 3 character. Then, just in case Soren doesn't come back, you never know. Don't question things.
Am I hearing Blood Hunter on the horizon?
No. I told you he's just gonna be a puppy who's a rogue. It's fine. He's gonna be great, and he might go feral.
Rottweiler?
Yes.
Bloodhound Hunter. It's right there.
But the question I had for you, Derek, while we're speaking on lycanthropy and the gnawing of teeth, how would you have handled if any of us wanted to be a carnivore, like a predator race?
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting thing, because the first humble folk, are mostly like scavengers at best. Like the most carnivorous that you even get with humble folk is apart from bird folk, because bird folk that are raptors and owls, those are predatory. And even in official Humblewood lore, they do have a hierarchy that I didn't really love, but like bird folk see themselves as like literally and metaphysically higher than humble folk who live in the dirt. But you do have like Vulpin that are, foxes. You have the Mopok that are raccoons. Those are predators to an extent, but also kind of scavengers. But then they added things like the Allurin race, which are cats, and now they've added wolves and dogs and badgers and bears most recently, in addition to all of the other stuff. And it's one of those things like, yeah, do we all live in harmony because we respect that eating humanoids is weird, like that eating something with consciousness is weird? Maybe that's where it comes across. I think that there's one thing, the Allurin Empire, I think, because they have the Luzos Empire is what they're called. They are an empire because they are predatory, and that translates into expansion and conquest. And yes, thinking themselves as a little bit better, and maybe over the centuries they have adapted a little bit better to being more cosmopolitan. But still there is like this, hey, we're an empire, we have an empress, she's more important than anybody else, and that's because she is a cat person. And even in the Allurans, they have two subspecies. They have moon and sun and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's one of those things where, Argus has never tried to eat Clarence, even though owls absolutely do eat bunnies sometimes. So yeah, it's when I first encountered the Allurans, like, this doesn't make sense. How is this supposed to work? Because these are lions and bobcats, and these are absolute predators. But the more I've read on it, I think it's one of those things where I think if your character choice was to eat your party members, that leans pretty hard into chaotic, evil, messed up kind of stuff, right? So I think that's where it kind of lands. A lot of this game and the influences of the character options that I added, because there were so few when we started this game, and Clarence is one of those characters where Lupu, technically Clarence should be a Gerbine. Technically, like if you hop around, you should be a Gerbine, but I felt that field mice and rabbits were two vastly separate things. Squirrels and rabbits are not the same. You can put all your corvids into a bucket. You can put all your owls into a bucket. That's fine. But it felt weird. So and Bettie being one of the Holterdam, and now they've kind of adapted. They have a separate thing for otters now. So now Bettie is unofficial, officially unofficial. But yeah, even Asher, the badger from season 1 and very early season 2, was influenced from a character that I had played on another channel in a Redwall game. And Redwall has a very different lineup of, hey, these are the species, and here are the good ones, and here are the bad ones, and I'd played a badger folk, and his name was Asher, and I wanted to kind of just Easter egg him in there just for myself. But then lo and behold, they added the badger folk in not that long ago. So, and again, that's all in playtest kind of stuff. But yeah, it's one of those kind of weird things where there's still a few options that I created that aren't official, but more and more I see they're getting added. They're talking about adding frogs. I still have the pig or warthog folk, the Oskogs. I'm not sure if they'll ever make it official. But yeah, now in the playtest they have cats and wolves and bears and everything else in between.
I feel like this leads into a really excellent question. This is coming from Kaila, who's over on Horizon's Call. If you had to choose another species for your character, what would it be? Official. This is for everybody. Official or non-official. And I'm curious, like, it doesn't specify. This can be a new character, but I'm also curious that if you were playing the character exactly the same way, but a different species, what would it be? And you can answer both or either. That's fine. I'm just curious, like, what other species could Mochi be? Or is, like, to me, a lot of these characters are so integral into, like, what Mochi being a raccoon makes so much sense, of course. Yeah. But what other, yeah.
I would have a really hard time picking a different species for Mochi. Like, if we're going out of Humblewood, all of those bipedal humanoids are too boring. She'd probably be a gnome, honestly.
Oh.
I can see that.
Small, sneaky, chaotic. Still seems fitting. So if I had to pick something humanoid, she'd probably be a gnome. Within the Humblewood, I think changing her away from a raccoon or a maypack would be It would change too much about her.
Mm-hmm.
It's so like she's one of the ones that if she got reincarnated as something else, she would have a massive identity crisis.
Sure.
Hell, same thing for Soren. Because it's like with him being Attilia and being able to like move through the sand like he can, that's where it's like that's very integral to him. But if I had to say something, I'm thinking maybe you wouldn't even say a Dwergar just because they go like through there, but I don't know. I don't think I could do one. Maybe a halfling just because he's a little guy still, but that's real hard.
Yeah. I mean, Mochi had a fun time disguising herself as a red panda. But to her, it's just like a tropical raccoon.
Right. I mean, basically.
So if anything, she would have gone red panda and changed nothing else about herself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mochi is that girl that goes on vacation and gets braids or like way too much of a tan.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Little beads on the end.
Yeah, it's the teensiest bit appropriative, but it's like it's vacation. It's like okay.
I used my own magic. I didn't take any resources from nobody.
You did not support the local economy at all. That's right.
Well, they didn't support us either. Did I get an army? No.
We got robbed by the local economy. That's what we got. That's what happened.
Kyle is what we got from the local economy. We got Kyle.
That's what y'all get for trying to fucking replace me.
Look, if you stop running after your sister when she has bad plans.
I feel like there's
Should
a
name
lot
him
of
Kyle for how much everybody
unresolved
fucking hates him.
animosity here.
His name is Kyle. Okay, I understand what you wanted, Derek.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think Clarence would be a servant. Servant? Is that how you say that? The like deer folk?
Deer folk.
Oh, servants,
Yeah. Because I feel like it would have matched with like almost like this otherworldliness of like these deer folk, and I believe I'm quoting from the book that the deer folk live like really up into the mountains. Like they don't live with like the other Humblewood, like by the tree and in the root system. Like they live like out there in like the middle of nowhere in the mountains, not the bandit side, the other side. And then just to have like one like show up and like wander in and kind of be like almost again kind of like almost like one of the other ones. Yeah. Also, I probably would have loved to have like antlers and then comedic gold right there with the antlers.
Clarence could have grown.
Oh my God. Clarence is what? A jackalope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we can probably get you antlers.
So many comments about Clarence's rack. So
You want to?
Hey.
glad we didn't
Hey,
get it.
I can become a jackalope. Clarence can become a jackalope any day, anytime
Anytime he
that
wants.
Derek is willing.
I see this. I'm here for this.
I love when people
Look,
say
Derek's
that.
a
It's
change
like,
man on
more
jackalope now.
species.
I think I can count on one hand how many times I've said no to my players, and I love that everybody's like, "Well, if you'd permit me to," I'm like, "I'm not stopping you. I don't care. You think I have time to care?"
I don't want to take away that power from you.
I had to negotiate my surfing down to bodyboarding, and that hurt.
I think it was based on an athletics check. To be fair,
That was the dice's fault.
Y'all had to negotiate.
Clearly, I did.
Damn.
I wanted surfing raccoon. I got bodyboarding raccoon, which was
The
still
one time-
amazing.
I think for Betty, honestly, all I can come up with is like for a humanoid character. I definitely think she'd probably be a Goliath, just because we really want that big bad bitch vibe, even though she's a huge softie. So, I don't know though. As another Humblewood race, I feel like, God, my brain just since Derek mentioned that we've now got like dog wolf type people, my brain immediately goes to Pitbull, built like a brick house. But I mean, I don't know. To be fair though, my brain is like having a real hard time imagining a pit bull like walking around on their back legs wearing
You could be like a
clothes.
Rottweiler and do like the pity rumble.
But I mean, it's still the same thing. Like my brain is just like, we can't figure out the bipedal wearing clothes thing for a dog type. So I don't know. At least with like the cats, my brain goes to like Thundercats. And so like
sure.
I can visualize it, but dogs, I'm having a hard time. So I don't know.
I like
Hit
how
point
you
press.
went to Thundercats and I went to Samurai Pizza Cats.
Oh, right.
Hit Point Press does have the puppy roll, A Possum New Adventure. It is completely free. So I will be running that at some point where you just get to play as your dog in a
Oh my
fantasy setting where
God.
everybody's just a dog.
Oh no.
It's pretty
Oh my
great.
God.
It's in the magical land of Doggo, which is very millennial of them.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Yeah.
If I have 3 dogs, do I get 3 characters or do I like
No, you
mash
gotta
them
pick your favorite.
together?
Gotta pick, yeah, or you can amalgamize them. Yes, you can chimerize. your dogs.
Favorite Derek.
I know that's the true test, isn't it?
Oh. Oh.
To help Anniek get away from that trauma.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a race for Argus, I think it's something the same with Liz. It's like it's either a Goliath or a half orc, or even an Aarakocra. Fuck it, hey, I'll cheat.
love that.
Just go Aarakocra and give my boy the ability to fly, because that's crazy that they can't fly in Humblewood. It's wild to me that birds can't
wait,
fly
you
in this
can
setting.
Argus can't fly?
No
No.
flying, only gliding.
Only gliding. No birds
Oh.
can fly in Humblewood, technically.
There are magic items, but there are entire modules based on the concept of somebody flying for the first time, either through magical or mechanical means. It's like it's a very big thing because yes, it's kind of the concept like their bones aren't hollow, which is how they're able to sustain more damage, and so they can use their wings to glide down, very Batman-esque, but they cannot propel themselves upwards.
Interesting.
So
Learn
it's
something
one of those three. It's a Goliath, half orc, or Aarakocra. For me, if I had to pick Humblewood, and he couldn't be a Strig. Then I would, and like you said, Bear was brought up, and I was like Bear, because that they're also kings of the mountain. They are also highly adept at mountain settings, and if I was keeping the same story elements, that would be the case.
Alternately, Argus is a goat.
Those are, I mean, he is a goat. I don't know.
Head-
One of those,
Oh my
one of
God.
those cliff goats that
Hey.
like stand on a dam.
Yes, and then just headbutts people into other people, and like that's how you do the
Yeah.
damage.
Nice domino
Oh.
effect.
I know nobody cares really, or has not asked me this question, but I 100% want to play Vulpin at some point.
Yes.
That's my
They're amazing.
I know this is shocking.
Shocking.
I'm super surprised,
know.
actually.
I know, for those of you who know me, also just the hair. There's a reason I do the hair the way that I do. While we're kind of talking about like alternate theories and things like that, so one of my favorite genre tropes of fantasy and sci-fi is of course the body swap episode. If you could do a body swap session of Humblewood, which character would most like to control or take over?
Okay, how many of us are gonna say Mochi?
Is
Is it just me?
I thought about it. Because I thought about it mainly specifically because like going from all physical to all magical is like Argus's worst nightmare.
I'm
It's like- it's like-
honestly straight surprised. Like, no joke.
I can't do it.
I
That's-
thought we were all gonna say Mochi.
I was gonna say Bettie.
I want to hear why Queon says can't do it.
Listen. That is all chaos. Okay, that is all chaos, and I don't think half is gonna accept me the way that I want to be because baby, the things that I would do as Mochi. Oh, that cult would have been made 2 days ago.
It's already made, okay? We're just expanding.
we would cover the world.
We've been nationwide.
We would have had the
Gas breaks.
Humblewood, the Tangle Wilds, all of it.
Because like
Path would have been like, good job, my child.
Christian doesn't really play magical casters a lot. He sticks with Marshall because fighting fun in head. So like if Argus had to go from all muscle to all magic, he'd had a panic attack. He'd been like, this is what you have to deal with constantly. All this thinking. You have to think about space and area, not just in the fight.
I want to see that so badly.
I saw Shadow with Mochi's. Like, I have a character sheet, I have an item sheet, I have a spell sheet, and I was sick and I couldn't make it. And poor Shadow was just going, Mochi's gonna read 14 pages while I think about my life
God.
choices.
So much.
Clerics, man.
Oh
She
my
has
God.
so much shit.
That was so it was good though. But I mean honestly, like if Clarence had like body swapped with Mochi, Clarence would just be like half like every 5 seconds, because like being able to like talk to like an actual god, like Clarence would have just been like staring into the moon, just like hands up, like yeah, like it wouldn't have the story wouldn't have progressed at all.
That would have been a
If
bottle
Mochi-
episode for sure.
Yeah, if Mochi body swapped into Clarence, it would just be like 3 hours of Mochi sitting across from a skull going, so this is what we're gonna do, you piece of shit.
This is how it's gonna go.
But honestly, as a player, I'd love to play Argus because, again, like Christian said, pick a person by ankle, swing into other person, success. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, simple plan. It doesn't need several
Fair.
steps. It's grab,
Yeah.
bro, win.
I kind of like that for an episode, I think.
I probably would have loved it if Clarence body swapped into Bettie, and like it would have been like absolutely feral though. Like Clarence saw Bettie bite a slime in the face, and like that was it. Like that
That did
unlocked
happen, yeah.
like this absolute vision of Bettie in Clarence's mind of like
God.
Bettie would have been like going around like teeth bared and like just like ripping people in half. Like like that would have been it.
Honestly, same thing for Soren. It's just like seeing Bettie just exist is awe-inspiring for Soren. So seeing them like go into like their rage, it's like, oh, she's terrifying. I want to be like that. So if he could have body swapped into that, we.
Betty's unlocked a lot of things for a lot of people, really.
I do think that partly another reason to body swap with Argus is because then you're going to be married to Jasmine, which is like a bonus.
She's
Like,
terrifying.
she's so cool.
She's terrifying.
She's
Amazing.
So cool.
Have you seen Argus?
Yes,
They're both so cool.
They're both.
She scares Argus.
I know. That's why she's amazing. And then you get to be her wife guy,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
amazing.
Her wife guy is
You get to be
hilarious.
her wife guy.
Yeah, no, husband, no, wife
Argus,
guy, yes.
Argus is meant to be a stay-at-home wife guy. But
Definitely a house husband for sure.
Definitely, he has big House King vibes.
I've seen that
Yeah.
anime.
then
He's like, I'm done.
I'm done.
I won.
Then, like kidnapped your wife, haha. Now you have to come back outside. And he's like,
Okay, but now I'm picturing Argus in like a little apron with
Yeah.
a duster, and it's just amazing. And I need Michael.
Yelling at the chicks, like yelling at the babies, like, get down.
yeah.
You
Get
can't
away from there
fly.
before Jasmine sees you.
before
Like kneading bread, you know. And
Oh.
like,
Look at your mother.
Yeah.
To a baker.
just wait till your mother gets home.
Tenderizing the tofu with like his banishing hammer, making
Wait.
sure it doesn't go off on accident.
So
Yeah.
Argus is just the dad from Johnny Test.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. Yes, 100%. Because like I was like, I want to be a guy that loves the reason he is alive, the reason he is who he is right now. He wants to worship them forever and ever, and anything that hurts that deserves to be banished to death.
Perfect.
I love it.
love that so much.
So don't give me magic powers because I'll find a way to do that with that way. And that could be way worse than throwing a guy into another guy. Ooh.
I think it's funny because Anniek, speaking of art, and Mike, our wonderful friend Mikyl Sandoval, who does all of the character work and character art for the for a lot of the shows here on Sword and Key. What moment is there a moment from any of this, from either this season or last season, that you personally want to see art of? If you could have any scene depicted in art, what would that be?
Okay, picture this.
Picturing
Sicily, 1986.
Darkened background, giant cave mouth,
Ooh.
swampy ground, raised boardwalks. Left center, giant fucking T-Rex. Top right, Petunia carrying part of the party. Bottom right, Mochi, freedom of movement, running through the swamp, escaping the Thunder Queen. Clarence, half twisted back, so we see the bunny butt, firing eldritch blasts at the Feather Queen. That splash page, I would love that splash page.
That's so good.
I want you to know that I want you to know that, like, there's a moment in the turns leading up to that where I just completely zoned out, and then I was like, oh yeah, we're like running away, and I was like, I'll just blast it from here, it's fine. And then I was like, we were running away.
We were running away. We barbecue flavored bandits, so we could start running away.
Yeah, I was like, well, we made that choice.
I think that was the moment where we were all like, so Clarence is going bad.
Yeah.
Was
that Clarence or was that Cal? Why are we shooting when we're escaping?
That was Cal. It's like, okay, interesting.
Also, it's funny we just left that problem out there. That problem's still a problem. That
Not somebody else's problem.
Just let her live.
She's not a problem. She's literally the apex predator.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's a natural biome. You were passing through. She lives there.
Like, she lives there.
Exactly.
Leave my grandmother alone.
We do season 7, and part of the intro is just na 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 na. I think it work.
Listen, I have to put dinosaurs in every one of my games. I got my dinosaurs out. It's fine. You don't have to worry about dinosaurs anymore.
That's what you think.
Yeah,
you gave Soren wild shapes.
Unless you bring dinosaurs. No, that's my favorite thing too, is to have a druid in the party that sees a dinosaur and it's just like, finally! I've unlocked so much.
Finally!
I understand the universe now.
Like, this is great.
I will also point out Clarence and Mochi have now seen dinosaurs, so we have polymorph.
Yes.
Oh god.
That's
Oh
fine.
god.
Also
Yeah.
So I can now turn Clarence into a T-Rex.
And I
Also
have
true.
Phantasmal Force, so I can, like, it has to be a smaller dinosaur, but I could make a tiny little dinosaur appear.
You know, Soren also has polymorph.
Oh,
And I could just turn into. Wait, we can make a whole party of these.
Oh, oops, all T-Rexes.
Look at all the spellcasting. What's going on here? What the
Oh my god, that's great.
I thought you had Petunia for all your dinosaur-related needs, Soren. Sorry.
Yeah, I love her. She's great.
So, speaking of monsters, real quick, that is the King of Feathers stat block, which is from Tomb of Annihilation, that I believe I modified a little bit, because typically it can summon like a swarm of insects. I was like, okay, it'd be cooler if it had lightning breath, so it had lightning breath. And I respected Jurassic Park lore to make it a queen instead of a king, because, you know, I support women. And so there's lots of stat blocks that I've kind of finagled with a little bit. The one that I didn't really finagle too much with, at least in like how it's written, was the very last enemy, Chaos, is actually the Belladros Witherbloom stat block from Strixhaven. Because in Strixhaven they have dragons that are like the primary representation of each of the classes, magical classes. So there's a wizard dragon and there's a warlock dragon, and that was a druid dragon, and so much about it was like rot and decay and like spitting up insects, and I was like, okay, this is a good representation of something that is feeding off of nature like a parasite. So it was technically a dragon, and I believe it was also a ridiculously high CR as well. I thought about doing a the same thing I did with Horizons Call to like give you all a boost to level 20 at the very end, because it's a CR 24. But I also introduced the mechanic that you would take down significant amounts of hit points every time that you took out one of the stones. So that's kind of how I balanced that. But you puzzled your way out of a CR 24 fight at what, level 14?
Ooh.
13. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, my character sheet still says 12. I think
So
so.
12.
Good.
Yeah, we did it at
Yeah,
12.
we ended at
Yeah,
12.
We were
I
12.
I have 2
Ooh.
games and I can never remember what level everybody's at. So pretty decent job, all things told. But yeah, if you ever want to take a look, I typically don't make my own stat blocks because I did that once and it went very poorly. It was either way too weak or way too hard, and yeah, so I'll always try to borrow and reskin. But that was Bellatrix Witherbloom, fun little dragon friend.
Amazing.
Hate it.
Well,
Mhm.
so awful. While we're Derek, while we're talking about monsters and things like that, there's a question from Anon, from our anonymous friend. So what would you say your favorite part of letting all of your players explore the new Spring World was? And also why the wake worms?
Sorry, the first part was explore the what?
What was your favorite part of letting your players explore this new Spring World? Now that they're no longer in
the world of spring after the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I did in a certain way try to make it seasonal in the sense of you're post-winter, but now you're going to deal with all the fucking rain. And so it was like that magical storm kind of thing. I'm a sucker for magical storms. I think they're neat. I think any storm that can just spit a random like damage type down at you is going to be fun. So I think that, kind of taking them then to a jungly area was also interesting, where they're, jungles much more than your typical northern forests. Like they exist in so much more like death, birth, like rebirth, decay than anywhere else. You have that like that tropical layer, and then everything downwards is just like it's just dying stuff that's rotting and letting everything else grow. And so the Humblewood is just, hey, look at all these giant trees. And then if you go somewhere else, that's like, hey, these trees are smaller, but that's because like they're just, everything here is fighting for survival. Everything here is so much more primordial than everything else. So I thought that was a lot of fun and definitely different than the Humblewood was. And again, it was based off of 2 paragraphs in a module. As far as the wake worms, I love sea monsters. I love sea serpents. Wake worm. I know. If you
Shocked.
10 seconds.
Shocked, I tell you.
I love them very much, and so wake worms are very cool. And I really wanted to use a wake worm at some point, and they were in a boat, and so wake worms going to happen. And it is canonical that like wake worms breed during the storm season. That is part of like wake worm lore. And then it was a black spot or a complication to introduce a couple of wake worms, and it turned out pretty neat. I think they're neat. They got a little anglerfish thing on them. They got like a bunch of eyes. Otherwise, just really cool looking sea serpent. Pretty cool design on them.
This is actually another question from the same for anonymous for Derek, but I want to expand it to everybody. Who would you say your favorite NPC was this season?
Lorelai's pretty strong for me.
Mm.
Just a businesswoman who knows what they want, and that's money. And has no side but cash, but that works for me. So
I also love Lorelai, also because our little coin game got me sleight of hand expertise instead of just proficiencies.
Ooh.
That was nice. And now it's going to be a weird claim because I've actually forgotten the name of the NPC that is technically my favorite. But our eligibles for reading, I don't know what the talky word is because English is a strange language, but our bosun.
Oh
Oh yeah, Ripper.
Ripper, that was him. I love him. Warmed up to him when he looked at the cove, Clarence and Mochi and Argus. I don't want to say destroyed. There might still be some of it left after the gunpowder barrels went off. But just the silent admiration of a job well done. I like him. I like the way he sounds. I like the way he thinks.
Ripper was very fun. Ripper was good to just mumble through stuff and not have to enunciate. Off of that, I really enjoyed Captain Fairweather, mostly because he was my best channeling of Reese Darby. Just way too overconfident in what he was doing, and also way too honest about his internal lack of confidence. It was very fun. I really liked Mr. Squelch just for his name. He was great. Lorelei was neat. As far as villains go, I thought that Captain Blackbones, Balthazar Blackbones, was a great villain that just like kind of haunted the party along the way without actually ever being seen. And I think that's always really fun for a villain then to show up, introduce a pretty tough fight, and then, you know, literally get used just as a weapon against his own people as he's being just smashed apart, like a scene from Invincible, just decimated against the ground. So, yeah.
I think for me, and this is like probably he was meant to be hated. Captain Tenderfoot, the captain of the Eloquence. I love that pompous asshole. I loved him. He was so fun.
He was, I saw that they had introduced, it's like Rockborough Gerbine or something. They were just chinchillas. And I just had this immediate image of a chinchilla stuffed into a naval officer's suit and just like puffing his cheeks out and like looking up at everybody, but at the same time looking down at everybody and just being like way too into the rules. I don't know. I got bit by a chinchilla when I was a kid and I've never forgiven them.
I love him so much. God, he's great.
I
Of
think,
course, Caliban. Caliban's really great.
Well,
yeah.
Caliban's strong.
Yeah, well,
Caliban
yeah.
is strong.
I mean, again,
He's not an NPC. He's a party member.
Yeah,
Baby.
he lives here.
He lives here now.
I would also like to bring out honorable mention of the bushes.
Jeb and George.
So
Jeb
good.
and George.
Anytime
Shut
Derek
up.
had a voice, a tree, a bush, a rock, like at any point, those were magnificent. Every time I was like, Soren, just talk to everything.
Talk to it, please.
Talk,
George-
please. Just
George,
we
Jeb,
implore
and
you.
later Herbert and Walker, they never got seen on screen.
Oh, God.
I always really liked doing Hath as well, having those little moments where like a chaotic trickster god is going to be honest with you, which means you're not going to really like the answer, but at the same time it's just like it's a mutual respect where it's like, am I in a cult? Yeah.
kinda.
Okay. Now what?
Yeah.
Now that you know, what are you gonna do with that information?
Now we make the cult.
From season 1, I know this is kind of a throwback. I was pretty partial to the deer behind the counter in the avium, like in the restricted section that we had to get by a couple times. I was pretty partial to them.
Yeah.
But for this season, I selfishly am a big fan of the bird whose name I cannot remember, who is behind the bar before we blew everything up.
Your Swanee love interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Betty's babe, for
The
sure.
one who banned you from the bar. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
dropping a
we
new-
got some splaining to do when we get
Look,
home.
it's a character arc. You get banned, you get back together. You know,
You
enemies
get
are
unbanned
enemies.
from dropping a nuke on a town?
Look, I didn't have
What?
anything to do
Betty
with it.
didn't do
I
it.
was just there.
Time is an
Clarence-
ally.
Clarence-
Eventually everybody
Clar-
forgets.
Clarence and Mochi are going to take Betty back to the bar, explain it wasn't Betty, not mention who did it, but just explain it wasn't Betty, and Betty will be unbanned, and they'll live happily ever after, and Betty can also be a wife guy.
That's the end goal
the
for all
goal.
martial classes in this
That's
game.
it.
Be a
Becoming
wife
guy.
Yep.
I support this.
Just trying to
know.
quit, man.
I also love. I was trying to see if I wrote her name down. I think I did. There was Boaz, who was the penguin at the front. Willa Shireburn, who was a swan at the Long Hook Bar. I also loved any pangolin just because I naturally just started doing this anytime I played a pangolin. They're just so nervous to clicking their little claws together.
I love Bosch. Bosch was the only one of the elders that I was gonna let get a pass. And then they rambled into the bullshit.
The medic was also great. Yeah, just anytime it had to be this. I don't know why.
I liked Sobe.
Sobe was pretty great.
I love my sister. I was biased though.
Great. Yeah, that's fair.
I really love bringing back your for some reason Ferdinand. Ferdinand. The rooster. Yeah. I like bringing him back and giving him a bit of a redemption arc as well.
Yeah. all of our bandits are getting a nice coating of no banditry.
Redemption arc, maybe. We still have 20 days left on the Geas.
We'll keep him.
He might still turn.
He seemed chill. I don't know.
Leave him with Soren. Soren will put him to work.
I'm leaving him with my wife.
I got shit to rebuild.
I'm leaving him with my wife.
She can make it work too.
Yeah. He'll either behave or we'll never hear from him again.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's not my problem anymore. Speaking of, exactly. I love my wife. Twice over, 2 seasons worth. My wife.
Well, she's the Killer Queen's just amazing. Jasmine is fantastic.
Yes.
All the time, every time.
If we are going back to season 1, I think one of my favorite characters just from the name was the moose named Molson. That was just
oh god,
short-lived.
A
great character.
Going back to the picture picture question. A scene I would love to have seen is them walking through the bandit camp surrounded by all the bandits.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a good one.
Yeah.
Pretty badass.
Oh, that's good. Let's see. So one of the things that we do here on Sword and Key, and that I know that this group does as well, but is one of my favorite parts of any sort of session, is to go through and say, what, and this is going to be for all the seasons in this entire game. What has been your favorite moment from your character from these past 2 seasons? It can be a moment of growth or just any sort of moment. And then also, what has been your favorite moment for a table mate's character? You don't have to go through everybody because I know we've got other things to talk about, but that what moment sticks out most for you all, for maybe yours and somebody else's character?
I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Do it.
I think the most defining moment that I was for Argus, the fight with his father was just it was just a pivotal moment, I think, for his character. And that is one, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It still sticks with me because it was so impactful, I think, to all of us to see his character do that, but also to realize the growth that sort of interaction really takes, and the challenge, the hardship that comes with it, all of it. It's a lot, and I think that's the one that really, really sticks with me, even a season past. It was a really intense encounter.
And your own?
Yeah.
It's call outs all over again.
Yeah,
it is.
Gotcha.
I don't have anything nice to say about myself.
Liz? That's not allowed.
Yeah, I know. I don't feel like Bettie has had any super impactful moments yet. I think that there is still a lot of growth available for her character. I think that she's been there for others, but not in a way that, to me or to her, feels like something that is outside of what she would normally do, or like a really strong moment, because she just kind of sees it as I'm taking care of people, I'm the mom friend, this is the important thing that I do, and it's just what I do, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. So I don't think any of the heart-to-heart conversations that she had any like the moment where she stood up for Soren, like she doesn't see any of those particular moments as like strong or impactful. But I think with Marley, I think that last moment with Asher was probably the strongest, most emotionally impactful moment that I felt with that character. I know that there were some moments with Mochi and there were some moments with Clarence. There were some really strong moments before that, but I think that one moment where she knew that Asher was going to keep his promise and that her family would know what happened, the truth of what happened, was really important to me as a player, to her as a character, before she was able to say, okay, I'm done, and I'm okay with being done. So, yeah.
I think a really defining moment for Mochi was in season 1, which was when, despite even Clarence backing up some of the larger lies, she looked her mom in the eyes and said, I don't want to go to wizarding school anymore. I am good enough as a cleric. And stuck to it. Actually, between season 1 and season 2, I redid part of Mochi's character sheet because she had a background feat that allowed her to take certain arcane spells. And I wanted to get rid of those because she wasn't going to be a wizard anymore. So I retrained her into a folk hero and got rid of all of my arcane spells.
That's rad.
It was very
We love
full
character
circle moment for her.
development.
And then I think one of my favorite moments from other characters was Soren and Sobe trying to figure out what to do about these elders and these stones, and them, like, the first time they took an actual moment to stop and talk about it rather than just pick up and run head first into an evil tree in this case. But actually stop, talk, admit you missed each other, admit you need each other, and actually come up with a plan. This whole, we're okay, so we are actually kind of on the same page. Maybe we should do something with that. I thought it was very sweet.
I think for me, like going off of the whole Sobe and Soren talking about the whole elders thing, I think the most pivotal thing for Soren is because when he first went to the Humblewood, he had this big bravado and like, yeah, listen, the tree told me I can be here. You guys don't get to tell me I can't be. But the second that he gets back home, he kind of like falls back into like what he's used to and everything. But that very last moment where he's talking to Petros and they are like, oh, I'm gonna leave. Soren is like, no, all of you are staying here and you are fixing what y'all messed up. You don't get to just leave. You don't get to just let us fix it and y'all get to just run away. Y'all are going to stay here, fix what you messed up. You don't have your power anymore and you're going to stay and deal with it. That to me is just like, my son has grown. My baby. Because like that was a snap. I didn't even think about it and it was a snap decision to yell at these old people. So that was great for him. And I think one of the things that I loved the most is just every instance of Clarence. I don't want to say humanizing because we're not humans, but like humanizing Cal to a point where it's like Cal was like, to me, like they were kind of calcified, like where they're like, we're not moving, we're not changing, we are going to become destructive. But we're sitting here thinking that Cal's influence on Mochi is going to cause problems. instead of seeing that Mochi, like not Mochi, Clarence's influence on Cal is doing great things for Cal as well. That was the part that we didn't see until that goop fight. So yeah.
Yeah, I think in the same way of Keon's answer, but like flip it a little bit, of like one of my favorite parts was seeing Soren, that moment of growth of yelling at the elders, of like these people that in a way you kind of looked up to but also like feared a little bit, and then being like, okay, why are you being cowards? Like, come on, get it together. And that was a really good moment. And then I really enjoyed the moment when Clarence threatened Cal, like that nobody else saw. It was, it's just like that internal mind moment, but of just being like, okay, you don't understand, like you think that I need you, but honestly you need me. and I really enjoyed that like reframing of it, because I was like, yeah, like Clarence could easily become like super evil and just go along with Cal, but at the same time Clarence isn't dumb, and I feel like Clarence is like such a strong presence and also like, I don't know, like a lot of times I see bards in the world as like kind of like historians in a way. Like if bards aren't talking about it, then it's as if it didn't happen type of thing. So yeah, I kind of liked bringing that to light.
I think for me personally, the fight with Argus's father, because it's rare when you get to have a character that has a boss as your through line, right? And not the final boss, but like the second to final boss is like that. Like that's super cool. Like to have your character be so connected to the main through line of the story, and be like the main cause of the problem in your story, and just wanting Argus to be the antithesis of his father without being that innocent antithesis of being a bandit, because like that's all he's known his whole life is being a bandit, fighting for your survival. And then it comes to the point where like, oh, we made people fight for their survival. It wasn't nature, it wasn't some force that we couldn't control. No, we did this. We're the problem. So that needs to change immediately. And so he ran from home, but like not even reluctantly. He's just like, I have to go home to fix this problem because I know what the problem is. And that becomes having to become king to make sure that problem doesn't happen again, because the people that were in charge let it happen and were cool with it happening. And so you just be like, no, new generation has to make sure that our legacy isn't this, isn't being monsters for monsters' sake, not for the hunt of the game, the good of the game, as they say, And personally, if I had to pick a character's arc or story that like really compelled me, it's gonna be Marley, honestly, from season 1, because like this whole time they kept keeping secrets from us, and it just kept building and getting worse and worse and worse, and we're just like, come on, help us help you. And it just boils over in it boils over and turns into this final boss of like, these are the consequences of all our actions and then some. And we get to have these emotional moments with Marley, and we get to have these emotional moments as they sacrifice themselves for the good of the world. And again, Argus having to make that decision to banish them, to like we had to make up for the sins of our past, you know. And it's just those two story together really like compelled me to like really love them as friends. Yeah.
That's good. Derek, you have some really brilliant moments as a DM. Do you have any particular favorite moments
I
that
appreciate
for yourself?
that.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single one of them. I
Of course not. Yeah.
I can think of only the amazing things that these people have done.
Sure.
I think one of the greatest combinations of like back-to-back plot points is the observatory, where Mochi like found that connection to that dying druid, and it really hit the implications of this is what the bandits are under the rule of Argus's father, which I think that was like a really big turning point. Mochi had just come to terms with her mother, then is now coming to terms with the fact of, I have a friend whose parent has done these awful things. Does that implicate them as well? While also dealing with Bettie, who's getting worse. Not Bettie, I'm sorry, Marley, who's getting worse with the fire spirit. And Clarence, who's also like seeing this dark side of the world. That Clarence, you know, by the path of the bard that they chose, has like heard so many stories, but this is a sad story. And like a lot of people, you know, got hurt during this, and what's going to happen next. And then for that to follow into Argus confronting his father, returning home after all this time in self-imposed exile, or even slightly non-self-imposed exile. And then for that, just as Argus is like, comes to terms with his brother, has felt his father is like, I'm the king now. Marley goes outside and starts burning everything down. And it's just, it wasn't like a choice. That was a trust moment from Liz. It was a plot point moment, and I could see other tables going so poorly, where it's just like, why the fuck would you do this? Why would you pick this character? Like, everything's gone terrible now. Look at all these imaginary lives. And it's just, it ended up being a really great moment then to follow through with Marley making that self-sacrifice choice at the very end. I also really loved the Council of the Elder Heart session, where, you know, you all kind of were like, okay, who do we trust? Who do we not trust? We know that like the bandits are the bad guys, but at the same time, they were hired. These are the people who are truly at fault, and they're like in charge of everything. I did want to throw out, because this is like, I always say the games that I run are as amazing as they are because of the people that play in them. I never write out a story. I never write out, you know, I sometimes have a B. I often have an A, and we'll start at that A and we'll find our way to whatever B that is. Sometimes that B is lowercase or uppercase. But I will post this in our Discord. I'll post a screenshot of it. I have Humblewood notes, where it's just stream of consciousness, and I can mostly find where stuff is just based off my terrible memory. But I have plot, and then little indents. So I have Heart of Ancient Frost Giant ? God ? Winter Spirit ? No. Fragment broke off. They need to warm the heart. Originally, like, the Borealis was going to be like the heart of an ancient, like, winter spirit, and then I read more. I have Hag ? There was originally going to be like a hag character. No. Wizard College, bandit attack, bandit stole the item. That was it. And half of that bandit stuff just came from Christians, like, being like, yeah, no, my character's like connected to bandits. Like, cool. I get to use that plot point now because I have that character buy-in. You know, with Mochi, here's the reason for them to go, Mochi and Clarence, here's the reason for them to go to the Avium. You know, with Pin in season 1, here's the connection to the Alder Heart itself and to the druids, and then the druids that like lived in the mountains, and it just like, it webs together. But it would be, I can't tell a story by myself. I haven't really tried, and I don't really want to. I don't find it entertaining, because I like not knowing what's going to happen next. It's just as entertaining for me, as opposed to just sitting there and going, well, here are all the characters, and here's what's going to happen, and I know how it's going to end. I don't want to know how it's going to end. That's boring for me. I'm entertained by the twists and turns that the wonderful people that I share the table with make.
Right. So I've got one last question, because I want to keep. It feels like we're at the winding down point, and You know, we've been chatting for quite a while. Although I put this in the Discord chat too. I have so many more questions for all of you, and I could spend all day talking about these characters. But one of the things before we head off for today and off to our various and sundry adventures, I would love to know about what you think the future of, like, give me a little snippet of where you think your character is headed, or where you think Humblewood is headed next. Things that you would like to see. It can be about your character, it could be about the campaign, it could be about the next kind of story that you want to see. Give me that little bit of like hopes and dreams for the next season of Humblewood.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that Soren's ending has probably at least guaranteed 2 more seasons of this shit.
Yeah, congratulations, well done.
So there's
Way to set up the next story.
I'm like, well, I would like to see what this natural chaotic elemental energy does now that it's free. I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter these past couple of weeks, and there's a portion of it where they do something very pivotal to the game, and I don't want to spoil it, but it has good benefits to the world because all of this energy is released, and it also has detrimental energy because it kind of changes things, some things for the worse. So I would like to see how Humblewood is affected by that. And the way that would like affect Soren, I can wholeheartedly see a subclass change for him in the future, leaning out of like the sand specifically and moving into like all of the elements, because I was kind of like setting it up at the end of that fight, with him feeling all of the energy at once. I think that would be where he is like, things are different and I can move other things outside of just sand now. So that's where I would like to see him go. If he even shows up, who knows? We could do a oops all carnivores and you get a lynx cat instead. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if Mochi would be back for a season 3. I don't know. It would depend a lot on how soon after season 2 it is. Like, do we pick up on our ship sailing back home? Are we going to have to chase down these 5 Galeses? Is there a little time skip? So, on the one hand, I would look forward to a new character. On the other hand, I love Mochi so much. I would love to see her become a little less broken as she grows up a little more. Again, she's like on the young end of young adult, and I would like for her to be a little less emotionally devastated at some point. I had high hope for this seasons, and then Clarence happened. So we just sort of piled on trauma instead of helping her heal. But who knows? Maybe with 3 more seasons and a therapist, Mochi might turn out okay. I like the idea of chasing after elemental beings. But in my case, it's more of like an Avatar style thing, which I love. So that would be great, story-wise.
Coming soon to the Sword and Key merch shop, a t-shirt that just says 3 seasons and a therapist.
Perfect. I would like for Mochi to heal a little, but depending on what the plans are for a season 3, I might just make a new character and let Mochi live her best high priestess life. She has a job now. She's the clerical advisor to the king.
Oh, that's true.
It is very true. I think, honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, the more we're talking about it, I think Argus' story might be done. I think he might be done. I don't see where it can go. Outside Save the World, huzzah! Not much after that, you know. And so I might stick with the Bandit Mountain. I might stick with the Kingdom. Maybe like make like an apprentice of Lorelai's, or an apprentice of Jasmine's. But like, I don't know.
Can we be there when you suggest to Lorelai that she becomes any kind of apprentice? Because I want to see that happen. She
Because
will.
I
will
know
kill
for,
you.
Takes on
I
an
know for a fact, 'cause
apprentice.
I'm like I want Lorelai to be like the spy master of
Yeah.
Yes,
the
Lorelai
mountain.
would be the trainer, not the trainee.
exactly. The
Yeah.
suggestion that she needs to apprentice to anyone. Oh, amazing.
But like someone connected to the bandits, is what I would want,
The
because
bandits
I
are
still
so
love that
cool.
setting. I might, and hey,
So
I, like was said, bear. Who knows? We'll see.
But wait, if you're a bear and I'm a sheep, that's gonna get real messy.
It's
Oh,
fine.
I want it.
vegetarian. It's fine. It's vegetarian. It's fine.
Mutual respect. Hey, bears eat fish and berries. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the last note that I have in my Humblewood notes is 6 months later, Argus wedding. So,
Ah!
yeah,
Wedding
I-
episode.
that is that is my next thought is, if we do pick up for a season 3 or onward, uh, do we pick up at Argus's wedding, or is it way past that? Are we dealing with the ramifications of a world that has had rampant spirits kind of just like out there in nature, and that balance is kind of coming into question again? Is it the new generation of humble heroes? You all have saved your home and now the world. Like, where can you go from there? Is it time to pass it along to somebody else? Now that you all have an observatory and a bandit kingdom, mercenary kingdom, and are the leader of several tribes or clans in the jungle, in the Tangle Wilds, or have actually
And
one
a
of my thoughts.
fleet. 2 ships is a fleet, right?
You have 2 ships. I'm not sure that's a fleet. Maybe a
Ships is a
flotilla.
fleet.
Is that like how 2 is a couple but 3 is a few?
It's something
if
like
you
that,
have
yeah.
3, it's a fleet. Like
Yeah.
okay.
One of my thoughts has been, like, if we do that fast forward thing, is it older Clarence like taking on youngsters, or like, listen, everything went really weird with everybody last time, me included, but everything's gonna be fine this time. Trust me, I know a king and a cult leader and a high priest and just lots of things.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think there is that doorway, right, of what the Lupo lives super long. So there is like that doorway of, like, if there was a fast forward to have like older Clarence. I don't know, honestly, what where Clarence, or what Clarence is doing now. There is a lot of possibility for Clarence to go chase down the super dark secrets that Cal knows. And in the pursuit of knowledge. But yeah, I don't know what's happened there.
I feel kind of in the same boat where I'm not really sure where Betty's story is headed. Mostly because, again, I'm still like not. She is. You know what I mean? Like she's a bunch of numbers on a page at this point, and I don't feel like I have a ton of character background to really be like, here's the through line that pulls me into season 3, other than we have Mochi and we have Clarence, 2 of our favorites, and we want to be there to support them and pull them through, and we want to be there to support Soren's story. We want to be there to support Argus however he needs to, like, back these people up. Like, that's our goal, is being the supportive mom friend who lifts everybody else up and stands there and looks menacing in the background with her hands on her hips, being like, don't fuck with my babies. I will end you. So
my immediate thought for Betty was that she has this connection to the storms that she would feel pulled towards, that imbalance in like the literal atmosphere, the balance of the world, and would feel like drawn to those places where storms are now kind of cropping up. Not necessarily literal magical storms, but like, again, like that static that's in the air, that petrichor just kind of pulling her in. But yeah, I mean, I've said it
Betty
off
and
camera.
Clarence just leading the new crop of adventurers.
Yeah,
Because
barbarian.
Betty's the only
and a
one that they
bard.
trust
Yeah.
to like do anything.
Good God.
Honestly, the nice thing is if you do that and one of their new party members does sadly expire, just take him to like a little half temple, have Mochi port in, resurrect, port back out.
Port in, port out. Nice.
Listen,
Uh,
He has
at
word
that
of
point,
recall. She's word of recall. Make it a temple, she'll be there.
depending on how far into the future we're looking at, Soren has just become a part of nature at that point.
Yeah.
Just whisper to the trees, he'll say something.
That's the thing about druids. Yeah, is at some point you are a nature spirit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where, I've said it off camera, I'll say it on camera. All these people are absolutely welcome back 1,000 times over for literally anything they want to do, but especially for Humblewood. And, if that's the thing, if you feel like your character arc is done and you want to stop digging because, hey, you've already hit gold, great. And these people also have the absolute freedom to not return should they have scheduling conflicts or just lack of interest. And that happens too, is, hey, I've done it. I've done the Humblewood.
I've done it.
Yeah. Box
Humblewood
check.
established.
Yeah. And there will be, more stuff. I am more than happy to world build with my own shit. But considering that this is like proprietary and has a new book coming out, I'll probably wait for Beyond the Canopy a little bit since they've only like touched on little bits here and there.
We got 2 days.
Just saying. I
Woo!
have yeah, till the Kickstarter goes live. So hey, check that out as well. You can get yourself a little pin, a little spinny pin with either an Allurin or it's one of the parrot people. I don't remember Sita's. Well, Sita that's on
There's
there.
parrots now? Okay, all right, sorry.
Yeah, that's what Balthazar Blackbones was, and actually Captain
right.
Fairyweather was a parrot as well. So yeah, they have Cetas, they have Caprins, which are goat people. There's the Pexians, which are axolotls. The I can't remember what they called the bear. They're probably like Ursas or something like that because they've been sticking very much to that kind of naming convention. And then Tilias, which they're actually official. They are not in playtest anymore.
My baby.
Yay!
And then what do they call them? Muscadine? No, I'm thinking of muscadines for something.
Mustles?
Mustles, which are like
Mustles.
badgers,
Oh.
wolverines, but also they have the web paws, which are otters. Yeah. And then, of course, the standard Mopak, Hedge, Vulpin, Gerbine, Servins. And then I'm still waiting to see if they add a couple more things. Like I said, they were talking about frogs. I think it'd be interesting if they added like ducks or cranes, like a more aquatic. I have a homebrew thing for that. Or woodpeckers, I think would also be interesting. And yeah, we'll see what they keep adding. And of course, the wolves and dogs as well. Lots of fun stuff. But yeah, I think there is absolutely a future for Humblewood on this channel. In a few months, maybe longer than that. There's still stories to tell. And hopefully, Point Press can offer some inspiration to any of those stories. Because again, I have the outline, and everybody else gets to fill that in, which is the fun part of it.
I think then that is where we're going to wrap things up today. I may honestly, there's a couple of questions that we didn't get to that I would really like to, so I might be posting them in the Discord chat as like a little bonus questions for those of you to answer if you feel like it.
Yes,
But I think, because I know that there were a few that we were excited to get to that we didn't get to, but I want to thank all of you for taking the time and answering these questions and getting to do a deep dive on these characters. I love these. I have loved getting to watch these characters as an audience member and getting to know everything and see all of these different stories. I'm really hopeful and excited to see all of you. I would love to see all these characters again, but I just love watching all of you as players as well, and watching the stories that you guys tell together has been just really, really fun. So thank you so much for coming and chatting about it. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much,
I'm going
LD,
to turn
for
things
hosting.
over to Derek to do all of the outros and all of that nonsense real quick.
Nonsense indeed.
I'm gonna.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
hosting, LD. Really appreciate you asking all these questions and being such a wonderful host. I do want to say we did end at 775 pounds sterling, not half bad.
Hey.
Pretty good stuff. So I really want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to these wonderful people for spending week after week a lot of hours put into character and story and seeing no financial compensation whatsoever. That's, I mean, time is money in this capitalist hellscape, and so it means a lot that you all chose to spend that time that you could be doing something else, raising money and telling an amazing story for a great cause. Fauna and Flora International is an amazing cause. They do work to protect, preserve the biomes and animals that live in them all over the world. They are based in the UK, hence the pound sterling. But they have been working in literally everywhere, whether it's any kind of biome you can think of, oceanic or jungle, or a lot with the wildfires that are happening both in the US and everywhere else. Excuse me. They've been raising a lot of money to restore their headquarters in those locations, work to protect and give medical treatment to the animals that are affected by those wildfires, and then I mean, literally almost anything you can think of. They've been doing a lot of really good work. So please check them out. You can donate in your free time. I highly recommend checking out their shop. They've got a lot of really cool stuff there. I have a pangolin hoodie on order currently because I love those little armor boys. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and go around and say a little bit more about ourselves and where you can find more of these wonderful people. I highly recommend you do. And then we'll do some channel stuff and we'll wrap up. Shadow, if you don't mind starting us out.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Shadow. I share pronouns. I play Clarence, who's they, he pronouns. I don't know if Clarence will be back. We'll find out together. Otherwise, you can find me everywhere relevant at Shadow Sylvia. I have a lot of projects this month, so you should definitely go check them out. Most of them are over on the channel that I'm an admin of, which is Roll D5, playing indie TTRPGs, and you might see some familiar faces there this month. So tune in to find out what that's all about.
Fantastic. Next up, we have Queon.
Hello, you beautiful people. I am Queon. I go by Brother Queon across all of the internets. And I have had the pleasure of playing Soren. There's a good chance that he'll return. There's a good chance he might not. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But yeah, if you enjoyed what I do here, you can find me across all the internets. Again, I mostly live on BlueSky. And that's where I share most of what I'm doing with TTRPGs and everything. But if you liked seeing me be like a lovely little guy, see me be a great giant problem over on Folk and Myth on Tuesday, where I can't tell you what I'm going to do because that's a spoiler for everybody, and it's gonna be great. We're doing a whole lot of spooky ooky stuff, and I'm so excited to see where this goes. What else do I have going on? Hold on. Nothing I can talk about. Went through the whole thing and I was like, recording, NDA, recording, can't talk. Okay, great. Anyway, but yeah, that's me. I'm kind of trying to like lighten my load because mental health is a thing, so I can actually be a human in other places. And when I am finally a human, the Plot Armory will be launching. My therapist told me not to do that yet, so that's the reason why it hasn't happened. He said, wait. He said, you need to not do that, friend. So whenever I get that bill of health, I'll be finding out on Friday. Hopefully it's good. But yeah, the Plot Armory will be launching, which is my clothing brand where you can get all of your amazing TTRPG inspired geek nerdy stuff. And again, you all are the main characters of your life. Every main character has some plot armor, and you deserve some too. So
fantastic. Thank you, Ken. Next up, we have Anniek.
Hi, my name is Anniek. I go by she, they pronouns. I apologize for the wild animal noises in the background. My 3 dogs are playing Bitey Face. We'll see if Mochi comes back next season. It depends on a lot of things. I do love her dearly. I have her tattooed on my body. I want her to return. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, I will be here on Sundays soon with a Tales from the Loop game. Where a bunch of kids in Sweden are going to have a mysterious time. I'm not going to say horrible because I'm not sure yet, but probably horrible, but definitely mysterious time. After that, we're playing more Mothership. And after that, I have a little bit of time to plan and look through the 52 indie RPGs I still want to run, shortlist them, and make actual plans. But definitely thinking I might try something cute instead of horror again at some point, and maybe do like Monster Care Squad. I might just end up doing horror again, let's be real. So I am terrible at social media. I technically have a BlueSky. I don't think I've posted anything in last year. So by all means, keep an eye on the Sorting Key socials and their Discord because they're saving my organizational ass. Thank you
Thank
for
you
doing
Anniek.
that for me.
Least we can do. Next up we have screen changed. We have Liz.
Me. Hi, friends. I'm Liz. I have been Betty, and I'm hoping that I will continue to play Betty. Yeah, that's that. You can find me here. This is the only place where I am. I was actually asked this morning on a different channel if I'm getting back into streaming. It's still really TBD. So we're just vibing at the moment. So you can find me here. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's it.
Wonderful. I will say, real quick, we are going to put out our Crit Award for your considerations, our personal nominees. Liz is among those for one of the solo games that we're
Derek,
doing.
stop.
So I
Stop.
highly recommend checking out Liz's itch to find all of those wonderful games, and please consider nominating because Liz has a number of fantastic games, so it's very tough for us to pick just one. Next up, we have Christian.
Hey everybody, hi, my name is Christian, aka Fluffy Goomba, all over the internets. I am an award-winning TTRPG performer, educator, and event coordinator here in the space. And speaking of event coordinating, you can currently check out Telltale Hearts as they are currently trying to cast for their cast and crew for their May the 4th Be With You 24-hour stream extravaganza that we did last year. It was a full BIPOC event, 50 or so BIPOC creators all joined us to tell stories, to show bigots that even in a galaxy far, far away, we all exist and you can't stop us. So please if you can find time and the energy, sign up for that. BIPOC creators will be prioritized, obviously. And you can check me out personally later today. As I am playing in Tragedy of Theologian, Greek Myth Inspired 5e campaign. That is happening on Total Party Kiss. Fun time. We are currently in Hades, traveling through the underworld. And that's a fun time. Hopefully we don't die. Because dying in Hades sounds like a mess.
It does. It sounds rather final. That I have caught a few sessions of that. Some of the ones I couldn't catch live. That is a fantastic game. I highly recommend checking that one out.
Thank you.
Next up, LD.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I've been your host, Lady Dame, or LD. You can find me everywhere that's important on the internet at the Lady Dame. It has been such a joy to be the host today and to get to hang out with these wonderful people. You can find, let's see, what do? I do a lot of things, both here and on my own Twitch channel. I stream currently in the middle or near the end of streaming Dragon Age the Veilguard, usually Mondays from noon to 4 p.m. Pacific, but some other times as well. I am also here on Sword and Key every Tuesday night from 7 o'clock to about 9:30 with Gate Night, which I get to play with Derek and Shadow. We just hit Act 3 on that game because I don't get to play TTRPGs very often with my schedule, and so I convinced them to play a video game that was essentially a TTRPG with me. I am also one of the co-hosts of the podcast Monster Crush, which I also do with Derek. That comes out bi-weekly on Sundays-ish. We just had our 99th episode. Derek talked about this earlier. Our 99th episode come out, which was about dinosaurs. And we're going to be recording our 100th episode, which I know I'm very excited about. I know especially Derek is very excited about because we're talking about one of Derek's favorite monsters ever. So that's a good time. I have a few other things. If you do want to see me play in TTRPGs, I'm actually free this month of April, so I'm going to be in a few games coming up. I think the first of which, well, let me think about this. I think you might be seeing me back here on Sword and Key on Saturdays for a couple weeks. I don't know if we've actually announced that or not, but I have been, insistent on bringing back the Harpy Bird Girl. Also because it's my birthday on Saturday, so so if you like slutty harpies, by all means, come check us out on Horizon's Call. Especially slutty blood hunter harpies. It's going to be a good time. I am also on the 16th at, I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern, if I remember correctly. I am going to be over on Roll D5 for their Mixed Signals Month. I'll be in a game of Warped FM where we are basically, the group of us are playing podcasters, trying to figure out which one of us is a cryptid or interviewing cryptids or something like that. I don't know. It's very different than what I do normally. I've never talked about cryptids in a podcast format ever. That, and then at the end of this month on April, I'm going to be over on Dax's channel for her charity game. I'm going to be playing on April 28th. Also 8 p.m. Pacific or Eastern time, where I'm going to be in a one-shot of the Dragon Age TTRPG. Because also a thing that I've never done is Dragon Age. And I believe I have a lot of stuff that this was, again, it's April and I was not busy this month, so I had a lot of stuff that I got to do. But if you plan to see me anytime outside of April, good luck because I get busy again. But that's me.
Fantastic. Again, thank you to LD for being a wonderful host. Thank you to these wonderful players for spending all of these weeks, all of these hours, telling this amazing story, playing this great game, and raising money for a fantastic cause. Thank you to you in the audience for all of the donations. They're very much appreciated, and for your viewership. I am Derek Sword. I am the sword half of Sword and Key. I use he and him, or he, him pronouns. If you want to find all of Sword and Key stuff, you can go to beacons.ai/Sword and Key. You can find all of our socials. Right up at the top is our Twitch. You're already there if you're watching this live. If you're not, check it out. Give it a follow. We are only 3 followers away from 1,000 on the Twitch channel. Not half bad. And I've decided that once we hit that 1,000 mark, we're going to do a 3-part giveaway. I'm going to do gift cards to all of our affiliates. So $50 gift card to Eldritch Foundry, $50 gift card to Long Dog Dice, and a $50 gift card to Hit Point Press. We'll do we'll have a giveaway for each one once we hit the 1,000 mark. So hey, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies. We'll take them. Other than that, our Discord is the next link down, so you can definitely join our Discord, be a member of our community. We'd love to have you around. Discord is where we post our applications first, and we just had an application close for Fragments of Loss, the heroic horde game, which is being run by the wonderful Angela. That session 0 is scheduled for the 28th, so that will probably start next month. We're going to have an application for 2 more games come out later this week. One for Curse Captains of Cthulhu, and another for a Marvel Multiverse game, both to be played probably next month. The Marvel Multiverse game definitely next month will be a Thunderbolts game. So if you've ever played a Marvel villain, now's the time. Other than that, with the socials that we use are Instagram and BlueSky. We do have our affiliates listed on our beacons as well. Again, Long Dog Dice, if you're looking for an amazing set of dice, or Jumbo D20s, or custom dice sets as well. Vampire the Masquerade dice, they have a great, really great assortment of those. D6 sets, not just like the standard, D&D 7 set, but a lot of variations as well. Also, Eldritch Foundry, depending, no matter how weird your TTRPG character might be, you can get a custom mini at Eldritch Foundry. You can have your centaur lizard character with a tail holding a Tommy gun and dual wielding battle axes riding a sandworm. That is something you can make on Eldritch Foundry. I've done it. So highly recommend checking them out. And then, of course, Hit Point Press, makers of Humblewood, Islands of Sina Una, Griffin Saddlebag books, the Fable Makers deck, animated spell cards, music licenses, minis, plush, so many other things. They have a comic for Humblewood as well called In Want of a Nail. Lots of really great stuff, and you can use our custom link for anything you're purchasing there. And there's discount codes for Eldritch Foundry and Long Dog Dice, all to be found on our beacons. Other than that, you can see our YouTube, where we post all of our other episodes. You can see links to Monster Crush, as LD mentioned, podcast that she and I record. We talk about different cryptids, creatures, miscellaneous monsters from myth, how smooshable they are. Episode 99 did talk about a big T-Rex supposedly seen in the African Congo, and episode 100, coming out soon, will be about Nessie herself, the one and only Loch Ness monster. So you can find that wherever podcasts are found. Looking at our calendar, which you can also access through the Discord as well as beacons. The next thing coming up is Gate Night, as mentioned, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time. LD Shadow and I play Baldur's Gate 3. We are at Act 3, so definitely join us for that. Next thing, in celebration for LD's birthday, which is on the 12th. On the 11th, we are going to have our next Sword and Key movie night. We are watching the cult classic Repo, the Genetic Opera. That is totally free. It's only on our Discord. All you have to do is just join in, be a member. That's all it takes. It doesn't cost anything. So you're more than welcome to hang out for that. Like I said, LD's birthday is on the 12th, which is the same day as Horizon's Call, 3 p.m. Pacific time. It is the wedding of Scarlet Shores, one of our main characters. Kaila, wonderful mod and community member, has played the character Scarlet Shores for over 4 years now. And that character is going to have a wedding episode, and also made a deal with the devil that something's going to go wrong. So that's pretty great. And then, yeah, not a Sword and Key thing, but later that night, LD and I will be going to a live music event in Seattle at 10 p.m. because I'm still in my 20s, I tell myself.
Look, I'm so not, but we're doing it anyway.
We're giving it a shot. It's a EDM saxophone musician called Saxsquatch, and he dresses up like a Bigfoot. So we're going to give that a shot and see how long we stay for that. Pictures to follow. The next episode of Monster Crush will be released on the 13th. That will be our episode 100. And then after that, Horizon's Call plays every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Gate Night every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Anniek will get her time slot back here as well, so we'll have more stuff on the calendar for Sundays coming up. And then, of course, Fragments of Loss will have its episode scheduled too. So lots of great stuff coming your way. And I think that actually wraps it up for us today. And for Humblewood Yonderbound, maybe we'll keep the same subtitle next time. Maybe not. Maybe we'll change it depending on when and if. When and if, as always. For the last time, at least for now, thank you. Thank you to you wonderful people. Thank you for telling this story, for playing these incredible characters, for being just wonderful human beings. I have cherished this time so much, and it's going to be weird not doing this every Sunday. But I want you to know that you were all very special people to me, and we're always here if you need anything at all. We're going to be rating Rakolai, however you want to pronounce it. He's fine with all of them. I believe
all of them.
Yeah, he is painting Gundam, so he does some mini painting stuff. Pretty nice chill stream, so go over there, spread some positivity, be a decent person. In this world is
My
important.
brother!
Yes, your non-canonical brother, non-real life brother,
Yes.
canonical,
Non-real life brother.
Yeah, in this world, it's important to take care of yourselves and others. And as always, remember the Humblewood motto, at least for one more time, which is no body, no crime, no drama. Weirdly topical these days.